Public meeting of July 13th, 2020 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, Electronic Message Board, WCTV, and on the Township website. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
to the
and to the
republic
for which it stands,
one nation
under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Amen.
Very nice.
Sue, roll call, but you're on mute, just so you know. Sue, you're on mute.
There we go. Councilman Cumming,
Here.
Councilman DeSena,
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Here.
Council President Feeney.
Here. Let the record also.
We didn't get Councilman Cassio.
I think she,
I did him first.
We didn't hear it.
Still here?
Didn't hear it.
No, I didn't hear it either.
Steve, are you here?
I can hear everyone just fine.
You have to speak up a little bit, Steve.
Steve, we're just doing roll call. You're here, right?
Yes.
Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator Tovo, Township Attorney Poller, and Township Clerk Wachowski. Public service announcement. Public service announcement for July 13th, 2020. For the latest updates, messages on the coronavirus, please visit the Township website. Paper shredding only event. Shredding will take place on Saturday, July 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Municipal Complex parking lot. Please bring your papers to be shredded. No books, no binders.
Is it all right to bring the inside of the book if you rip the covers off? Do you think?
I don't know.
I don't know, Art, because if it's got glue on the binder, I'm not sure if that affects anything. You can try, you can ask.
Would Mr. Sears know if that would be acceptable?
If who, Stacy?
Tom Sears, would he be the one to inquire to?
No, because we do this through the town. You know what, I'll send an email out to the company and ask them, okay?
That's great. Thanks,
With
Sue.
no covers, okay.
Mail Dropbox. Oh, blue Dropbox has been placed outside of the town hall for depositing all correspondence addressed to the proper department. No cash should be placed in the mailbox and all payments must be in a sealed envelope. Property owners, if your property is adjacent to a township-owned property and you are interested in purchasing such parcel, please send a letter or email of interest to Mayor Peter Calamari. Lightning awareness alert. Please be aware the lightning detection system on our fields is currently not functioning and will continue to be inoperable for the foreseeable future due to the ongoing construction at the middle school where the main antenna is located. Update on the Township Library. The library has begun reopening. Curbside pickup will be available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. For residents who are homebound, delivery will be available on Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Please visit the website for further information. Town parks. Parks and restrooms are open for recreational purchases. All facilities will be sanitized on a regular basis and social distancing and face coverage should be utilized. Playgrounds are open and sanitized. Okay. 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 Okay, approval of minutes, done. Okay, report of the mayor. Somebody has us on 2 devices.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Well, let me try this.
Good evening, council. Good evening, residents. When I put my monthly reports together, I always look back at the same month from the prior year. Doing that this month, I was reminded of the many events COVID has taken from us this spring and summer. Normal graduation ceremony, our summer concerts, our summer rec program, Junior Police Academy, Little League. I hope this virus gets under control as soon as possible so life can get back to normal. A new normal is not good enough. People need to interact with each other. The last numbers given to us from the county show that we have 102 confirmed cases of the virus among our town residents. We wish those that have not succumbed to the virus a complete and speedy recovery. Per the governor's executive order, we reopened our playgrounds and the equipment on July 2nd. The equipment is being sanitized daily, including weekends. Please continue to take the appropriate safeguards. I want to thank the members of the council for approving the town budget at the last meeting. This ended the need for the temporary budgets we had to operate with due to the delays caused by COVID. We look forward to continuing the forward progress of our town by starting the new and much anticipated capital projects. A long-awaited new ladder truck for our volunteer fire department, the 2020 road improvement program, new equipment for our DPW so they can continue the great work they've been doing, an energy management system for the library and town hall buildings to better control the HVAC and lighting systems in the buildings and automatically turn off when areas of the building are not in use, saving gas and electric use and money, therefore helping us as a town be environmentally friendly. Also, speed limit warning and control devices around town. The new ambulance and fire department building is now out to bid. The bids will be opened on August 5th. Again, I wish to thank the volunteer members of both departments who, in addition to taking time away from their families to do training and answering calls of duty, took even more of their time to design a state-of-the-art building that the town will be proud of for many years into the future. Our town owes them and all our volunteers, including rec coaches, a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. Intersection. We have started the condemnation process for the properties where we could not reach a mutual agreement with the property owners. We tried negotiating with the parties as is required by law before commencing condemnation proceedings. PSE&G is currently paving roads affected by prior year's work. The township will commence its 2019 paving program before the end of the month. The roads in the program can be found on the township website. We have updates for the council on the temporary locations for the DPW that will be discussed in closed session as it requires further negotiation. The Zoning Board of Adjustment has and will have major applications in front of it. I urge all residents to let their voices be heard on these applications. Remember, just because an application has been filed does not mean it will get approved in that form. The board can approve applications as submitted, work with the applicants to see if compromise can be reached where needed, or reject the application. Library. The library has started its stage reopening. Although the building remains closed, they are offering many online programs and have started curbside pickup of materials. Please look for their newsletters in the mail and check their website frequently for more information. We have a paper shredding event taking place July 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Municipal Complex parking lot. As was just said, no books, binder clips, or three-ring binders, please. Police promotions. Due to coronavirus and the need to social distance and avoid large gatherings, we had a small gathering of people to swear in the officers. Each officer and a couple of family members were in attendance, and after each officer was done with their swearing in, they left the courtroom with the family so the next officer could be sworn in and their family members could join them. I mentioned their names in my last monthly report, but they are certainly worth mentioning again. Patrol Officer Vincent Santa was promoted to the rank of corporal, and Special Officer Robert Luscombe was appointed to the rank of police officer. Lightning detection system. I would like to lay out the timeline of events regarding the system. On May 6th of this year, the school business administrator sent the administration an email. The first two sentences were as follows, and I quote, "I would like to inform all municipal partners that the lightning detection antenna will be down due to current construction at the Westwood Regional Middle School. There will be no notifications or alerts at this time, sorry. Close quote. Not knowing how lightning detection systems work, but seeing an antenna on each unit, I thought each location stood on its own. Therefore, I thought they were letting us know that the system at the middle school only would not be operational. Since the fields were closed due to coronavirus and thinking it only affected the middle school, I did not send an alert out. The next time I heard anything about it was from Councilman DeSena and a few other concerned parents sometime during the week of June 29th. After researching the issue, I found out that the hub of the entire system is located at the middle school. As soon as finding that out, I queried the school business administrator to ascertain when the system would be operational. I simultaneously ordered that the existing signs regarding the system at each of the fields be covered up and new signs notifying people at the fields that the system is inoperative were ordered. I also instructed the police department to send out a swift reach reverse 911 message out to the public. After further conversations and email exchanges with the school business administrator, he informed me that the system will be back in operation within the next 2 weeks. I have since also asked the school business administrator to research if some level of redundancy can be built into the system so it doesn't have a single point of failure going forward. Knowing what I have found out this past week about lightning detection systems and how they work, I regret not informing the public when I first received the notice. I am thankful every day that the entire system being inoperative this long without the public being aware of it has not caused any incidents. Thank you. That concludes my report.
I don't hear Steve.
That's because I'm on mute, sorry.
Sorry.
That's user error.
No, your lips were moving and I just didn't hear anything. Okay.
I expect you to lip read.
Okay, sorry.
Thanks, Art. Okay, sorry about that. For a president's message, the only thing I want to say is that I was out this week at Bakari Grill and they were social distancing very well, and it was a great experience. And I want to remind everybody that the restaurants in town are open for outdoor dining and for takeout. Thank you. Vice President Cummings, you have a report this week.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Yes, we have a short report. As the mayor said, there's going to be an energy management program. There has been a lot of delay, very frustrating to yours truly, but the cause was that the specs were not ready before leaf season. Then we needed an inventory of machinery. And I usually and I do always get a great deal of help from Bill Lawler and Dominic Swartz. They were unavailable because they were out doing all of our leaves. So that waited on some time and pushed things back. As Councilman DeSena very well suggested to me, and thank you for the suggestion, we could have gone ahead last year and bid it out and then kind of scratched up the money from other places where it was being unused or whatever. And I felt very supported by that remark, and I'm grateful for it. I started working on the specifications along with one of our wonderful clerical people whose name I won't mention on TV. But at any rate, I finished them this spring with the help of some contractors. They are ready to go out. So as soon as we all approve the capital budget where it is placed, we will go out and bid this out. And then the contractor and Honeywell will come in and put in controllers, management units, new stats, and so on for each unit in the building. 14 units altogether will be controlled by this program, which will simply mean that even though now we have the most efficient equipment within reason that you can get, that it will not be running 5 hours after, say, a senior citizen meeting. Not that they do that intentionally, but everybody does that sometimes. The municipal building and the library and the new firehouse will be part of this. I had an hour-and-a-half conversation with the mechanical engineer specifying the new HVAC systems, their interconnection and control. He's a grand gentleman who's down in North Carolina, and we spoke for an hour and a half and confirmed together all the wonderful new things he's specifying. Insulation on refrigerant lines, water circulation systems, many other things I'm sure you're totally bored with. But it's going to be should I say space age? That's archaic. It's going to be a very smart building, a very, very smart building that will serve us well for many, many years. There also was a seminar about UV, ultraviolet C range lighting, and how that is put in the ducts in order to sterilize the air and kill the bad germs that are circulating or may be circulating. I have forwarded information on this. It was put out by a contractor who is newer to us, but very, very good. They apparently do maintain the 500,000 square foot building in Englewood Cliffs where CNBC is located. So they seem very, very competent. For this new aspect, I may come to you for advice and support as the library and our own facilities, just thinking of the Muni building, will need continuous sterilization as recommended for COVID. So thank you very much. That's all I have to bore you with, and I appreciate your attention. I'm sorry it went on so long. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Cummings. Councilman Casio, do you have a report this evening? Councilman Casio, are you on mute?
Hello?
Right. Okay, so we're gonna, Councilman DeSena. Councilman DeSena, since I don't know if Steve calls in, I can't see him, so.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Council President Feeney.
You're welcome.
But a couple quick things. In 2015, our neighbors in Park Ridge lost 2 children due to a lightning strike as they were playing soccer on a field. And the reason that this has brought so much importance is that in 2017, the township chose to install a system in town in Emerson and Westwood and with the Westwood Regional School District as a joint venture because we cost savings. The utter lack of transparency by the Board of Ed to get this system up and running on a $24 million project is ludicrous to me. And I expect them, 2 weeks is still too long. I don't want anybody to ever have to, I can't imagine what those parents are still going through in 2020. But I don't want anybody to ever have to live through that when we have a system that works and is reliable. And I'm not pointing blame. I just want the system turned back on, and I want it turned back on quickly. It's been 2 months already, and it should be done sooner. I appreciate all your help, Mr. Mayor. I spoke with Mr. Rosado myself also. The excuses given are unacceptable. We have it's a $24 million project. I want the architect to explain how he thought disconnecting this for any period of time was of anybody's safety. So I appreciate all your help, and I hope we can have your continued support to get this running again. I just want the administration to check the list posted on the township website for the 2020 road program. Does not match what we approved early in March. We approved the 3 alternate bids of Palm Street, Webster Avenue, and Pershing Avenue, and those are not listed as being paved in 2020 as they were approved in the March resolution and in the resolution presented by the borough engineer. So I'd like to see those 3 streets added to the list, Palm Street, Webster Avenue, and Pershing. I don't have the exact limits, but there are limits based on the engineer's approval. That is all I have for tonight. Thank you, Council President Feeney.
Council President, may I say that you appear to be muted?
Sorry, user error again. Councilwoman Morgan, do you have a report for this evening?
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, absolutely. You're loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I just want to, I thank the mayor. I did see all of the signs at the fields regarding the lightning detection notices, so I thank you for that. But I do echo Mr. DeSena's concerns about the lightning detection system being down and the lack of communication that came through from the Board of Education. Simply stating it's going to be up, soon, we'll let you know, we'll keep you updated, is, as a parent, very frustrating. And actually terrifying to me. As much as I may explain to my children to stay off the field and see the signs, they're children, so they're not going to necessarily understand the severity of what their actions may result in. So it's unacceptable to me to know that, there's a risk to our kids, to us when we're walking through, to just simply say that it's, it'll be done soon, I'll keep you posted. That's not enough from the Board of Ed. I expect more. I want more. We need more. So I would like an end date, an expected date of when that's going to be back on, and if it's going to be a significant amount of time. I want to know what's being done in the meantime, immediately. But I do also want to say, for those parents who are like me and are nervous about it, there is an app you can download, and I did it, and it's just exactly what it says, lightning detection app, and I put it on my phone, and I'm able to tell when you can set it as far range as you'd like. It's a free app, so if you have a smartphone, you are able to do that. You may want to put it on your children's phone so that they know there's lightning in the area and to stay off the fields. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is the tighter monitoring on property maintenance ordinances. I would like a complete and an incomplete list and tally of when those are, who gets what warnings, etc. So that just being said, I'm putting it out there that's my expectation moving forward. But I think once the mayor found out, moving back to the lightning detection, once he found out, that it was significant impact on the town, I really appreciate the swift, actions you took to make sure everyone was safe. So thank you for that. And thank you, Mr. DeSena, for, sharing your concern with me on that and making it known.
Thank you, Councilwoman Morgan. I just want to piggyback off the lightning detection system that I requested for Dr. Gonzalez to be at the meeting this evening, and he declined. There were several emails that were sent, and they were forwarded to all of the council members and the administration. His response to me was that if we wanted to have a meeting offline, that could be arranged. And my response to him was, a meeting should have been arranged in May for all parties involved. And I
Absolutely.
said, this is not an acceptable answer.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you would not come to our meeting tonight to address our concerns and possibly the concerns of the public who will call in, to me, is not an acceptable manner to resolve a safety issue for not just our children, but children, staff, families, and guests, and anybody who uses the fields in Westwood, Emerson, and Washington Township.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
My two thoughts were, and I wasn't going to take away from all of your monthly reports, but number one, their email list is so backward as to be Cro-Magnon. The only email that came through was the one to Administrator Tovo. That was the only correct address. Otherwise the emails went nowhere to nobody.
They
And
went to 2 seasons ago.
number
council
two,
people, and to what, two 6 years ago, Mayor, right? Sobkowitz, was it 6 years ago?
3.
3 years ago.
My second point was that the system should be turned back on immediately, and I do not think we should wait for a quotation or a problem. It's my understanding from a licensed electrician, and I'm sorry I didn't get this out sooner. Congrats to Councilman DeSena that he's got his ear to the ground on these issues and was out there, that the hub can be restarted or moved with a minimum of effort to a new place. And this being July and there being a thunder shower almost every other day, this
Agreed.
is so dangerous to the public that
Absolutely coming.
as a former buildings and groundsman of 2 school districts, not just 1, but 2, Fair Lawn with 13 schools and East Ramapo with 31 schools and 300 acres. I cannot see how you can just, is it arbitrarily and without proper notice, turn these systems off and endanger the public? And I cannot stand for it.
100% agree with you.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, I was very disheartened to hear that someone who's responsible for the safety of our children was not willing to come and talk to us about this.
Exactly.
Just so
You
And I
know, it
don't-
brings up another question. What are they doing about fire alarms? But thank God the children are not in school. I mean,
Right.
this raises doubts about competency. It really does.
100%.
And at the
It
very
really
least,
does.
it raises, you're right, and it raises doubts about transparent communication. Arbitrary is a perfect word, and nonchalant about the safety of our kids. I honestly, I can't let it go. So I'm sorry if I sound like I'm redundant. It's infuriating to me that the other people, that we weren't made aware of it. The right people weren't at the table. A decision was made that was not theirs to make alone. And that's where I am frustrated. It affects more than just the school. It affected the entire town, and it was an afterthought.
Yeah, and my biggest disappointment in the emails was when he said that we should have a shared services meeting. They'd like to have a joint meeting to discuss. Well, as somebody who is controlling what is going on with the construction site, who is responsible for the construction site, who should have been more forthcoming, and there should have been a plan ahead of time before the construction started to move that hub to another location in order to keep 3 towns' residents safe.
Right.
And this should not be a partisan issue. It should not be school board versus municipality. This is a safety issue. And in my opinion, this overrides everything. You need to communicate. You should have reached out. You should have called a meeting. The meeting should have been the mayors, the chiefs of police, the OEM team, and the rec departments. All 3 towns should have been there. And if there was a money problem with moving it, then I am 100% positive all 3 towns would have split the cost to move it because it is a major safety issue.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I continue to be just aghast and appalled and any other word that applies that this has happened. It's still going on. We're lucky to have 4 clear days of blue skies so far this week until Friday when something more may happen.
Yes, exactly.
It's a continuous danger, like having a live wire on the ground.
Yes,
It's just amazing.
I agree. Anyway, Mr. Mayor, I hope that you hear from Dr. Gonzalez in the future and that there's a plan.
Yes, I agree. I'll keep it moving.
Okay, and Councilman Casio, are you on the line? Would you like to give your report of the council tonight?
I can't hear him.
Is he talking?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
I can't hear him.
me neither. I thought that's why you guys were laughing.
Well, I'm hearing him actually through Bob's phone.
Oh,
Oh, Sue, okay, Sue, you have to unmute yourself, please.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Councilman Casio, I'm very sorry we didn't hear you before. Would you like to give your report?
Try this again, Steve, and see if this works.
Can everyone hear me?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hi.
Yeah.
Crystal
Nice and
clear.
clear.
Okay, there you go. All
There
right.
you go.
Well, on a lighter note, everything's been said anyway. It's nice to see people out in the summer enjoying the activities of the sunshine. People out walking, bicycling. It's really nice to see. And that's township the way it should be, seeing people enjoying themselves. I think we can move on with the meeting now. That's my
Thank you, Councilman Cassio. Sorry about that. Okay. Is everybody good? Can we?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. General public discussion, limit to 5 minutes. To participate in the general public discussion portion of the meeting, please dial in on 201-664-4659. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time. Please note that at the end of the general public discussion, no more calls will be accepted. Limit to 5 minutes. Motion to open the public discussion.
So
So
moved.
moved. Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sue, please open the line. Thank you.
Hello,
Hello?
I'm
Yes.
here.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening. What's your name?
What? I can't hear you, hon.
Sue, can you help me?
Yeah, state your name, please. Is it Rosa?
Okay, it's Catherine Wojcicki. I live on Fern Street in the township.
What is
Thank
your
you for calling in.
592 Fern.
Okay, I'll get her full name for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Catherine, you can address the council.
Oh, good evening. I just wanted to bring up a couple of issues. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Very clear.
Okay, good. I'm a little confused about what day the garbage is being picked up, the recycling is being picked up. Yeah,
Okay.
and a lot of other issues, but I won't go into them all, but I do want to praise our policemen in town. They are fabulous. If I need them, they come at the drop of a hat.
Who's saying hang up?
That's great. Thank you very much, Catherine. That's a very nice compliment, and we will definitely pass that along to our police department.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, are you going to address her?
Hello,
Yes.
am I on?
No, hold on a second,
Just
please.
wait 1 second. Mr. Mayor, you're on mute.
better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Recycling is every other Wednesday. I forget which one Fern Street is. And obviously for garbage pickup, that's up to your local hauler. So
Right.
please give them a call and I'm sure they can refresh you when your garbage pickup is.
Yeah, because I was wondering if you ever going to think of getting rid of those bags that we have to buy.
The hauler should have an option for you to sign up to get rid of the bags. The cost is slightly
Okay.
more, but then you don't have to be bothered with the bags any longer.
Oh, good. Then I'll have my son Ricky do that, you know?
Great.
Because we put them out, then we're not putting them out on the right day. We had to bring everything back in the house. So I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
That's what we're here for.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much
And
for
you're
calling.
doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. We all really appreciate that.
Yes.
It's very kind of you to mention that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm just a little concerned with the virus.
What, are you rightfully so? Everybody's very concerned about the virus.
Yeah, because I've seen people. And especially in the supermarkets, because they're touching things, they're putting them back, right. And it's easily picked up, the germs.
Yes, you are correct. Absolutely. So please be sure to wear a mask. And if you want, wear gloves in the supermarket, which is recommended if you feel uncomfortable.
Right. Well, I guess I took up enough of your time.
Thank you very much for calling in. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate the feedback.
Okay.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. We're ready for the next caller.
Is there someone else on the line?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Please state your name and address.
Jim Zacconi, 668 Clinton Avenue, Washington Township.
Yes, Mr. Zacconi, how can we help you?
I understand that the bond ordinance is on the agenda for tonight for the new ladder truck for the fire department. And I just want to say that I encourage all the council members to vote for this tonight. The existing ladder truck that we have is 33 years old. It's long overdue. If all fire apparatus is only rated for 20 years of service. Now, the ISO is the Insurance Standards Organization, which is an outfit that the insurance companies hire to survey the towns to establish their rates.
Yes, that's correct.
Find out if we have a truck over 20 years old, it could affect the rates that the people pay on their fire insurance on their houses. And that truck is out of service more than it's in service. It's either in a garage, not going to calls because it's waiting for a mechanic to come and service it, or it's out in the shop somewhere. It's 33 years. It's long overdue to be replaced. So I encourage the council, please get this thing going and pass that bond ordinance tonight.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with you. This is a very important issue and needs to be resolved.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you very much for calling in. Yes, is there anyone else on the line?
Hello?
Yes.
I'm back.
Margaret Kosel, 125 Pascack Road.
I'm sorry, could you just say your name one more time?
Margaret Kosel,
Thank you.
125 Pascack Road.
Yes. Good evening, Ms. Koso. How can we help you?
With regards to the lightning notification system,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
very puzzled over the fact, I mean, everyone seems to be very upset about it, which is certainly justified. However, when the notice came out from the school to the administration, why was it not immediately shared with council members? And at that point in time, all these suggestions that everyone is talking about now could have been addressed. Obviously, it wasn't shared until Councilman DeSena was alerted by the fact that the system was inoperable. So all this talk and, excuse my expression, drama is long overdue, and had it been brought out to the council upon the notice getting to the governing body, I'm certainly sure each and every one of you would have done something then. So to blame the Board of Education, I think, is a big stretch.
I think that the town has to assume responsibility in not doing the right thing. Westwood notified, they had it on their Facebook page, they had signs up notifying people, and I'm not talking about the school, I'm talking about the municipality. So the way that was done, we could have done the same thing or had another system going, whatever the case may be. But for all this that's being said tonight, I just feel that it's just too little, too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your opinion. We appreciate it. I think, did she hang up?
Yes.
Yes, is there someone else on the line?
Yes, hello?
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 Hello, this is Michael Ullman.
Good evening, Mr. Ullman.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank you, Council President. I did receive your email regarding last public meeting and the issues with the phone, so I appreciate you reaching out on that, and hopefully we won't have that issue going forward. I did have a question on the list of bills. On page 1, there is a $6,700 excavation that's associated with 727 Amherst as well. So I was wondering what that is with reference to. The second question on the list of bills is I see that GLD Associates as another installment of $2,500. Has the council been requested on multiple occasions, been provided with a list of grants that GLD has applied for on behalf of the township and its emergency services?
Mr. Tovo, I believe that was requested. Was that sent out by the grant writer?
Yes, you did receive an update from the grant writer last month, and there'll be another one due at the end of this month.
Yeah, hold on. I don't have anything.
Perhaps that could be cleared after my time is up, but it sounds like it may be in the works, but maybe there's nothing to report.
Very well.
The question I have is, you're approving the bonding for the fire truck, the ladder truck.
Yes.
And the firehouse has not, construction hasn't started. The bid hasn't been awarded. My understanding that the trucks that were contemplated wouldn't fit into the existing house. Given the lead time on the trucks and the lead time to get the firehouse built, will there be a period of time where the truck potentially is not in an enclosed environment? And has that been contemplated, and has that timeline been compared, and any potential conflict been eliminated? And then the last question I have, or the last comment I have, is I could not agree more with Mrs. Kozal, the woman who just phoned. We talk about doubts of competency about individuals on the Board of Education, yet, as the mayor confirmed, a letter, an email was sent, an email was received back in May, and it went through the entire administration. And I do not put this at the foot of the mayor, although he is responsible for the town. I put this at the feet of the administrator. He completely dropped the ball on this, did not take action, and all this blustering about the Board of Ed and we want this now, we want this immediately, is quite honestly all BS. It should have been addressed by the administration back in May, and now we are just making excuses. We are beating our chest, and we're behind. We're separated by a cage, so we can say everything we want
because there's no repercussion. And I think that, if the councilman Cumming is talking about a doubt of competency, I think he should look to the second floor to Mr. Tovo before he starts doubting the competency of the Board of Education. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ullman. Hi, I was trying to respond to Ms. Kosel when she called, but I was on mute, so my apologies. I just want to go back and clarify. My frustration wasn't that we weren't contacted by the Board of Ed, because you're absolutely right. We should have been by the administration. It should have been an overlap of it, continual notified. Even if we were notified once, we should have continued to get it to make sure it was saturated throughout the town, that we knew that the lightning system was down. That I agree. My frustration is truly with the fact the Board of Ed made the call and thought so little of putting a secondary temporary solution in place in the meantime while it was down, and just kind of decided they made this big decision, which has, it could be life-threatening to many. So my frustration was the little thought that went into what now. So yes, it's twofold. I have two sources of frustration. One is that the communication did not go out to the residents, of course. But two, with the Board of Ed, absolutely. And I don't think it's dramatic. And I think anything less than being angry is irresponsible. I'm annoyed that a secondary temporary solution was not put in place at the decision point when they decided to cut the power to the lightning detection and take it down, that in that same conversation, a solution in the temporary in the moment wasn't made. To me, that's where my frustration is, because what else are they making decisions upon in the future that it's, we'll worry about it when there's an issue later on. So that's my concern.
Well, I hope you have these same concerns. I'm going to Oprah when we've done our background checks on volunteer coaches and individuals within the administration that have a regular interaction with children.
I promise you.
We've been doing that because
you're going to hear it from me right now.
The council
Go ahead.
approved an ordinance. The current council amended it, and as far as I know, there have been no background checks done, or at least it wasn't done through, I think it was March was the last time it was brought up at the council meeting. And I think that's something that everyone should be concerned about.
Absolutely. And I love that you're passionate and you're going to keep pushing it forward, because I will as well. My children actively play sports, and I 100% agree with you on that. And I promise you, I will continue to monitor it and push until it's done.
And it is, we passed the ordinance, and the plan is anybody in town going forward.
It should be members of the green team that have access to the schools that are going in. They are individuals in the communications of the township that have access to children and, seek volunteers activities with them. And I believe that everyone should be. It shouldn't be limited to just coaches. It should be limited to anyone who has a regular interaction with children in the township.
I agree. You're 100% right.
And the ordinance does state anyone who comes in contact. It's not just coaches.
Yeah.
Stacey, may I jump in for a moment?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Poller.
I'm sorry, it's the mayor.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
That's okay. Just want to address Mr. Ullman's couple of comments on the ladder truck. Yes, we did think about that possibility that the truck would be ready before the building. The builder of the truck will hold it for a couple of months, and if it runs into longer than that, we will look into a warehouse space to store the truck until the new building is ready. So yes, that did come up in our discussions. Regarding background checks, as you know, with COVID, we have not had any type of a rec program, but as soon as the rec programs get started, we are ready to implement the background checks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ullman. Is there anyone else on the line?
Anyone else there?
Hello?
Yep.
Hi, this is Anthony Conti, 490 Ridgewood Boulevard North.
Yes, Mr. Conte, how can we help you this evening?
About 43 weeks ago or so, we were talking about having a meeting with the New Jersey NJTPA regarding a new exit to try to slow up the traffic coming off of Washington Ave, the 168 exit on the Garden State Parkway.
Yes.
Mr. DeSanta had put a meeting together, and that project was taken away from him by the mayor, and the mayor was going to push forward on it. And I understand we've had COVID and all the rest of the nonsense that's been going on. But I'd like to know if the mayor or anybody on the council has tried to push this forward. You're looking to put a nursing home down here that's going to increase traffic. You're looking to put the Viviano property, you're looking to put condominiums and homes. It's going to increase traffic. You're looking to put other condominiums or homes up on, I can't remember the name of the street, but it's off of Van Emberg Avenue. You want to add all this extra traffic coming into town, and nobody's doing anything to push forward and get the exit further down the parkway so we can ease up on Washington Avenue. Is anyone doing anything? Question mark.
Councilman DeSena, I believe you had a meeting scheduled and the meeting got canceled, correct?
Yes, and then the mayor took over the meetings with with Mrs. Shapisi and Mr. Alf with Congress.
I know the NJTPA is not taking in-person meetings. They're still holding virtual meetings. Mr. Mayor, do you have a date set for a meeting, or is there an update on that?
There is not an update. The only update I'd like to point out, and I apologize if it's a miscommunication, I was not looking to take it over from Councilman DeSena. I just asked to be a part of it, that we could work together on it, as we should as a mayor and council. So I did not take it away. If anyone got that intent, it is incorrect. As far as meetings go, COVID threw a big monkey wrench into everyone's schedules. But I will reach out to our assembly people and the people at the Highway Authority and see when we can get another meeting scheduled.
Okay, that's great news. Thank you very much.
May I say something, please?
Okay, Mr. Conti, go ahead.
Okay. As per Holly Shapisi, they were waiting for a call from the mayor. It was the mayor who was supposed to call Holly. Now, if that's back on DeSena, and he knows that now, I will continue the conversation with Mr. DeSena either at another council meeting or whenever.
I believe they're going to be working together, it seems like. I think the mayor asked to be included on that.
I'd actually like to know who's going to be handling it so I can talk to that person directly or through the council meeting.
Mr. Conti, I believe from the conversation that just happened, it appears that Mayor Calamari and Councilman DeSena will be working together on this action that you're looking for regarding the exit off the Garden State Parkway. I believe you can direct your questions to both gentlemen.
Okay, so neither gentleman has taken any action because
Mr. Conti, like the mayor said, now that I know I'm allowed to call Mrs. Shapisi, I will reach out to her assistant, Alyssa, tomorrow morning and try to get a virtual meeting set up as soon as possible with the mayor's input. Is that okay?
Quick thing, just real quick, and then I'll hang up because I probably went past my 5 minutes.
Nope, you're at 3 minutes and 48 seconds.
The dog park that you're looking to put in at Sherry Field.
Yes.
Is that something that's first coming up? Is that something that's getting voted on?
Yes, Councilman Casio has been pushing that through for a while now.
For Sherry Field or for any field?
I believe the decision was Sherry Field, and Councilman Casio was included in those decisions.
We've never talked about the actual site that wasn't discussed with
I gotta get in.
the council as a whole, but it seems that the engineer thought Sherry Field was the best choice apparently. So
Okay.
That wouldn't have been my first choice, but apparently the engineer thinks that's the place it should be. Mr. Conti.
Okay, and the last and only thing I'll say is I heard everybody yelling about lightning and being informed and things shouldn't be done and transparency and all the rest of that stuff that I heard earlier. But when it comes to the DPW, I see you're doing that in closed session again. So I guess transparency is only when you want it, but when the town people want it, we don't get it. Is that accurate?
No, that actually is not, Mr. Conti, and that's actually one of the agenda items tonight, that the way that the government functions in this town is that again, I am actually repeating myself, the responsibility of the negotiations and the site determination is on the administration. And before a decision is made, it is not to be made public. It is to be brought to the council for discussion and a decision is to be made. So there's nothing in the property acquisition for the DPW that is not transparent. We are following the rules of the form of government that we have.
And I think comparing the two is apples to oranges. It's nowhere near the same.
Actually, you're not following the form of government because right now you're only supposed to be having meetings about emergencies or health issues in closed sessions.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Conti. According to the open rules regarding COVID, there is a separate clause that allows for special closed meetings regarding certain items, and property acquisitions, leases, rentals, sales, and purchases is included in that list.
Okay, well, whatever.
Well, the problem is if I present you with the facts, I get whatever. I'm sorry to give you, the actual rules. They actually were available, and they are available for the open website. It clearly states what we're allowed to do in closed session during COVID. And property acquisition, leases, rentals, sales is one of the allowed uses of a closed session.
Yeah, I talked to the Bergen County executive. I got the rules.
Okay, then they're also going to be discussed in tonight's conference agenda.
Okay, you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you very much for calling in. Stay safe. Is there anyone else on the line this evening to speak to the council?
Tom Sears.
Yes, Mr. Sears, how are you?
How are you doing? 600 B Street, Washington Township. I see on your agenda tonight there is a grant for Sherry Field Dog Park. The Green Team has been working on that for over 2 years now. We met with Boswell Engineering 14 months ago and have not heard from him on any plans of construction, so I'm kind of confused on that money that's being spent, what's being built. We did lay out the ground markings for Boswell because we met with him down there in 3 other parks. So I'm kind of confused on where they came up with that amount of money to build that. We haven't heard from him again, like in 14 months. I know Art and the mayor was involved with this along with the Green Team. So we've been on this for 2 years now. So I'm kind of baffled on how did they come up with that cost or that grant, which I did talk to the grant writer about 8 months ago if he was going to apply for anything, and I have not heard back from him on that either. So I'm just kind of wondering how did they come up with that cost? And we did lay out how the park was supposed to be built, and I just don't, we're kind of confused. The whole Green Team is, since we had 3 other locations, and all of a sudden this came up tonight, and maybe somebody can explain to the Green Team how this thing developed.
Councilman Casio, since this is something that you were working on, do you have any information regarding that, or would you like to set up a time to talk to the Green Team?
Well, it's been radio silence with this dog park for a year and a half. So I haven't heard anything. I haven't been consulted on anything. And that has been discussed at the council meeting before your tenure. So I'm kind of in the same boat Mr. Sears is in.
So maybe it would be a good idea if you and Mr. Sears reached out to the grant writer and the engineer and made a meeting of it.
Council President Feeney, can I just interject one thing?
Just wait 1 second. Councilman Casio and Mr. Sears, would you be willing to arrange a meeting with the engineer and the grant writer to get some answers?
Oh, I mean, anything to get these projects moving for the community. But I'm like, how did this all of a sudden pop out of the clear blue sky when like I said, 14 months, we haven't heard from Boswell.
Right.
Several months, we haven't heard from the grant writer.
It could also be that the grant is coming due, and if we don't file soon, we might lose the money. So that's why I'm suggesting a meeting with the grant writer and the engineer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Whatever it needs, you know, that's not a problem.
Okay, Councilman Casio, would you set that up with Mr. Sears?
I will set that up, but at this point, I'm very hesitant about doing any grants for this project at this point, because there's a lot of unknowns.
Well, I think a conversation would hope to fill that
That's why
in.
we were waiting on the Boswell Engineering to get back to us.
On this, but I'd be happy to meet with the engineer, and I would be more than happy to meet with Mr. Sears and members of the Green Team and discuss this, and I'd like to bring it back to the council.
Okay, and then if you could please make a report and send to us prior to next meeting?
Sure, my pleasure.
Great, okay. Councilman DeSena.
Council President Feeny, while Mr. Sears is on the phone, I just want to interject one thing. Sherry Field parking lot about 6 years ago, we were fined by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. The township was fined, and they were made to restore all the wetlands that they were filling in with gravel. And the reason the horse rail fence is there is to prevent any future encroachment into the wetland area as defined by the NJDEP summons. So when I see stuff out inside that area, it's in violation of the order we signed with the NJDEP to not have to pay the full violation. So I'm surprised that Boswell didn't do all their due diligence on that, because it's an NJDEP record. The township was going to pay a large fine, but we erected the fence at our cost, and the township's cost, with the telling the DEP we will never encroach on that area again past the horse rail fence.
That's very good information. Mr. Tova, would you please reach out to the engineer and see if he has that information and report back to us?
All these things were considered during the process for evaluating an appropriate location for the dog park. And according to Boswell Engineering, all of those tasks have been passed and approved. The dog park can go in that location.
Okay. So could you get the information from them and let us know who approved it so we have that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Please make sure that, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Please make sure that in doing this, we're not going to wind up with the fine,
right?
Getting taxed. I mean, really do the due diligence to make sure that that part was discussed, because maybe it was missed.
Right, and that's why I'm saying, find out who approved it, so we know if an agency approved it or if it was just approved by the town.
Right.
We know who approved it, well, then we'll know if we're in compliance or we're not in compliance.
Right.
Mr. Pollard, weren't you involved with the DEP under Mayor Sopwitz's term when this occurred?
Was I involved? No, I really wasn't involved a tremendous amount. I only got.
But you do recall the fines and everything that were levied.
Councilman DeSena, just let him finish, please. Go ahead, Mr. Pollard.
I am not going to say that I recall the fines that were levied. I have to look back at my files and take a look at things. A lot of things happened in the time that I've been here.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, Mr. Pollard.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Sears. Do you have anything else for us this evening? I'm sure you'll be hearing from us.
Be safe. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you very much for calling in.
Stacy?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just ask Councilman Casio and Mr. Sears to keep the administration apprised of that meeting. I think we would like a seat at it also.
Okay, I'm sure that's absolutely no problem. I think anybody who would like to attend it should be okay.
Well, not more than 2 council people other than that. Yes.
I mean, the necessary parties that need to be involved, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else on the line?
Hello, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Yes, this is Michael Proto. I'm at 850 Ridgewood Boulevard East.
Good evening, Mr. Proto. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. I just want to touch base with the council about the proposed development at 450 Pascack Road that's up against Memorial Field and the school.
Yes.
I have been hearing from other residents. Everybody's pretty disturbed about this project potentially going in. I was curious about what the council knew about it at this point. And I'm also concerned about the fact that these meetings are being conducted by teleconference. When this does come up before the zoning board, I think it needs to be an in-person meeting, considering how much opposition there will be there for it. Can you speak to that at all?
So I know that right now, so we have not received guidance for the county for any meetings where the public is allowed. Is that correct?
I haven't.
No, I'm just about the public meeting. Currently, we're being advised not to have in-person meetings, and that's for all the meetings in town. But I believe they're working on seeing how things go and changing that. I don't know if that's. And as far as I know, Councilman DeSena, is that project up yet on the? Is it with the planning board first or the zoning board first? I'm not sure where it's at.
I apologize. It is with the zoning board, not the planning board. I know last meeting I made an error and said it was with the planning board. It's with the zoning. So I do not know where it is right now.
Okay. Does anybody know if this project has come before the zoning board as of yet? I don't believe it has.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. And it goes zoning first.
Council President Feeney, is
then,
it possible to, because of the impact and the, like the resident is saying, the amount of opposition that is there, is it possible to suggest that it's postponed until it can be in person?
The problem is they have a time limit from when they file the application, that you have to have a meeting within a certain time. You can't just do that because of COVID. So that's something we'd have to look into, but I do know that once the application is filed, they do have a certain amount of time to bring it up before the board and vote on it. We could look at
the
it.
municipal building today. I guess I wasn't aware that it was totally closed, but I was looking to get my hands on the application and the reports concerning this project. Will I still be able to get that if I call and speak to
Yes,
the
absolutely. I believe if you call into
there's a lot of feedback. I'm sorry.
Sorry. If you call into the building department when it comes up, they will be able to provide copies of the plans, correct?
I don't know if it's, I think it just got into the building, and I don't know how that works with, if
Mr.
it's going out to a resident before the planning board sees it.
Mr. Tovo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Administrator Tovo. Administrator Tovo, sorry.
Bob?
Sorry. Okay, when the plans are filed, okay, with the town, when will a resident in town be able to pick up a copy of the plans?
I believe after they've been given to the appropriate board.
Okay, so how long after they've been filed typically is that the case?
I will check on that and get back to the resident. They would like to call me or email me tomorrow.
Okay, no problem. And the next meeting is July 21st, and it's the second meeting on senior housing at that time also. Okay, Mr. Proto, what else would you like to say?
I'm just curious. I was listening to some of the other people talking about some of the other projects in town. Is there any study that has been done relative to this project and all the other projects in terms of the traffic concerns, the safety concerns around the school? And Memorial Field as well, of course.
I do not. Yes, Mr. Cummings.
The plans have not received yet by the town, and a meeting is not yet scheduled with zoning first, and then planning second.
Yes.
And as when they come in, then people can look at them.
Okay. And do you happen to know, Mr. Cummings, if there's been any studies done around traffic and safety issues for these developments? That's what Mr. Proto was stating too.
Gee, I'm sorry, no, I don't.
Does anybody know if that's a requirement or going to happen or has happened already?
Well, first of all, it's the board that handles that, and the things like traffic studies and studies are usually put forth by the applicant, and the boards are authorized to hire experts at the expense of the applicant to do studies and to undertake investigations. But there would not be a activity by the board until the application is actually before the board. And even before it gets to the board, the engineer is going to determine whether or not the application is a complete application according to our ordinances and requirements.
Okay.
So that has to be done as well.
Okay.
And I don't know where a couple of things are at this particular point, but again, as we all know, it's not a council function, it's a board function.
Yes. And I also want to, Mr. Proto, I just want you to know when the project is filed and it's on the zoning board meeting agenda, the application and all of the information regarding the project will be available on the township website, as they are right this second for the senior housing project that's on the next zoning board meeting. So it's a good idea if all the residents take a look at the zoning board meeting agenda, and then you can see that the documents are also out there.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Is there anything else we could help you with this evening?
No, that was it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in.
Okay, good night. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else on the line?
Good evening, Council. This is Joseph Scalia, 813 Ridgewood Boulevard East. Myself and Mr. Proto were recommended to call in by the numerous town members out of respect for the town council. Instead of having 20 or 30 people call in, it would just be myself and Mr. Proto to call in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scalia.
And what is ironic is that currently we're proposing to remove in this new development 200 trees that border Memorial Field and Washington School. We do understand that a catch basin would be put in, but even with the rain over the weekend, the amount of water coming off into the field, into other people's properties with the trees currently available was still over 1.5 inches of pooling water in the location. So if we really have a green team in this town, we are not opposed to development. If there are buildings that are currently standing and we can repurpose them for better opportunities in the town, I think the town would be very supportive. But to destruct an area next to our playground where our children go to school and removing 200 trees and devastating the Memorial Field location, and knowing that we have football games, different events, who would want to live next to the field with blaring music, football games going on? So I would really ask, I know that this is not right now in your hands, but each one of you play a big role in this town. And we would need to make sure that your voices are heard on the opinions of this development. Especially, I did speak to the property owner, where the property owner stated that 3 times he tried to sell this property to the town with 3 different administrations. And 3 administrations failed to negotiate this contract. He also had $450,000 from Bergen County Green Acres program that we lost because we couldn't make a decision in the town. It's very disappointing that we had an opportunity to purchase this property, and now he sold it for significantly less money to a builder who wants to put apartment buildings in a residential area. So we just ask that you continue to look at this, how this would impact our community, impact our children, and also impact the water table in the homes near the field. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Scalia, and you made all valid points, and I'm sure the entire council and the administration appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else on the line?
Hello? Anyone else making a comment?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I don't know if I'm able to speak again. This is Margaret Kosel, and I didn't mean to hang up so abruptly.
Oh, that's okay, Mrs. That's okay.
I'm very upset with what I said. I'd like to clarify something. The lighting system is shared by 4 entities: the Board of Education, Emerson, Westwood, and the Township. During the time that we were notified, if anyone had any concerns about an alternate location, there were 4 entities involved. I was at the meeting when the lighting system was decided upon. I was the recreation director at the time. So there were 4 entities. It wasn't just the Board of Education who was making the decision. All the Board of Education and 3 towns were involved. Now, if anyone had any problem with it, then they should have said something when they received the notification. But obviously, no one did because the situation prevailed. Just wanted to clear that up. Mr. DeSena questioned the DEP at Sherry Field. My husband was the director of the road department at the time, and his information is absolutely correct with the DEP having fined the municipality because of the waterway situation. So I don't know if that's of any help or whatever, but I didn't mean to hang up abruptly, and I certainly have a lot of respect for Mrs. Morgan. I know her, and she's a wonderful person, and she seemed very annoyed with me. However,
Oh, Mrs. Kosel, never.
I was involved in the meetings. There's 4 entities involved in this, and any single one of them could have voiced an objection.
So, Mrs. Kosel, I just want to clarify one piece of information for you, that the decision was made alone, that no other parties were involved in the decision that was made in removing the detection system, and that has been confirmed by the school board. So
Mrs. Feeney. However, everybody was notified. All 4 entities, well, the Board of Education notified the 3 entities. If any one of the other 3 had any problem with it, they had every opportunity to voice their concern. And obviously, no one did. So to point the finger at the Board of Education, I have nothing to gain by saying anything with regard to the Board of Education. But I was at the meeting when this was all formulated and when the decision was made with the 4 entities. So to blame any single one, I think, is not fair.
I'm sorry, you were at the meeting when they decided to take down the lightning detection system?
It is imperative to have. But obviously, no one felt that they needed to be concerned about it. So, to blame one or the other, I think all 4 entities are at fault.
Okay, thank you very much for calling in.
Mrs.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, Mrs. Kosel, just wait a second. Mrs. Kosel, just wait 1 second.
I just wanted to comment. First off, I'm never upset with you, ever. You have absolutely every right to always tell me honestly and truthfully how you feel. I know where it comes from, and I absolutely adore you and don't feel that you've insulted me. I'm not upset with that. I think my concern was, were you at the meeting when they decided to to take it down and dispower it, or
dismantle it?
Dismantle it, right? That's the time that I'm talking about, that they kind of made their decision on their own without contacting anyone else. Hello,
Margaret.
Did you?
I didn't hear what she said. It was seemed muffled.
Oh.
However.
Mrs. Kosel, what she said was, Margaret, were you at the meeting when the school board announced they were dismantling the lightning detection system?
I was at the meeting when we decided to put in a lightning system.
Okay, so we have no problem with we have no problem with the system.
When they decided to put the system in.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Emerson was represented, Westwood was there, obviously the Board of Education, and us. Mrs. Steinell was the administrator at the time that the decision was made to go have this mutual agreement with all the different municipalities as well as the school. And that's how that all arose. So I was there. So that's why I'm saying that it wasn't up to one or the other. It could have been any single one of them. It wasn't just to blame the Board of Education.
No, I
think we could have complained. Westwood could have complained. We could have complained. We could have said we want it remedied. This is unacceptable. Any single one of the entities. So to point the finger, and I have nothing to gain by defending the board or anyone else. I'm just saying that there are 4 entities involved.
No,
and
I think
being redundant, and I really don't have anything more to say. And I hope the information that Mr. DeSena was concerned about was cleared up, because I remember my husband was quite upset about the situation because they had done some work and disrupted the waterways, and the DEP was very, very upset about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Cosell. We really
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Cazell.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I just want to clarify one thing. It's not where the lightning detection system initially came in and who it serviced. I think that's fabulous, and I think it's a wonderful decision that they made at that time. What I was frustrated with was the most recent, within the last couple of weeks to a month, when the Board of Ed decided to disconnect it for now due to the construction, that those exact 4 entities that were there when it was decided to go up to create the lightning detection system, that they weren't consulted when they decided to turn it off again for a short time. So I got a chance to talk to Mrs. Kosel, who is an absolute doll, by the way. I love her. So there's never, ever any ill will with anyone who calls in. And if we disagree, we just agree to disagree. That's, I'm not always right. So I just want to put that out there.
And I also want to say that in my opinion, and in speaking with other members of the administration and some of the safety members, that the email was not as clear as it could have been. And that since it was a one-sided decision and said that was being disconnected at the middle school, I think more clarity in a brief meeting would have helped to rectify confusion and had an open line of communication. You're absolutely right, Desiree. Absolutely.
I think what Mrs. Cazell was saying is absolutely true. The 4 entities, I think, took it for granted how much the system is vital to the four agencies. Us, Emerson, Westwood, and the regional school district. And I think the Board of Ed, didn't realize how much it affected the towns either. And I just don't, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But, on May 6th is when all these questions should have been asked. I know I'm being very, persistent about it. It affects all our children, all our township residents, and it just needs to go back on. And that's the end of it. I don't want to point any more fingers, but we need to move on.
We need to move on. Yes.
But we need it on, but it needs to be on.
It does. Okay, so listen,
Madam President, I was criticized by Mr. Ullman for voicing my opinion.
I agree, yes. Listen, everybody, there's been a lot
I agree with Councilman DeSena.
Right.
It's got to go back on. That's all there is to it.
And I'm sorry, Councilman DeSena, but in the emails that I sent today, and you've all received the emails, I am blaming the lack of communication and the lack of respect for the municipalities themselves, that the school board should have talked to everybody who was involved prior to making the decision they had made. And again, as Mr. Cummings has said, he did speak to an electrician who said that there would have been minimal charge and minimal effort to move the system. I think that's what needs to be focused on is that, and also, our town emails that Mr. Rosado and Dr. Gonzalez used didn't go to anybody, except we were very fortunate that it did go to the administrator, but didn't go to anybody else in town. and the
Right.
administrator did forward it on. And yes, the mayor has said that there was a lack of communication and he is rectifying it. And I think with that being said, we need to move on with the rest of the meeting because it is 9 p.m. and we haven't gotten through the regular meeting agenda.
Right.
Let's move on, please.
Okay, anybody else on the line?
Anyone
Motion
else
to
on the line?
Ask first if there's anybody still there.
Anyone there? Last call?
Okay, motion to close public discussion.
So moved.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Mike, you want a second too? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Public hearing at 7:30 or as soon as thereafter the matter can be reached as advertised. Okay, Open Space Trust Fund. Municipal Park Improvement Grant Application, Cherry Field Dog Park. Motion to open the public hearing. May I have a motion? Go ahead, Mike.
Can I have a motion to table this until we get the information from the engineer and the information from Mr. Pollard from DEP so we can proceed at a later date?
I don't think we can table the public discussion since it was advertised, so I think we can have the public discussion, and if you want to table the vote, we can talk about that.
This is David Buono, GLD Associates.
Yes.
On the line for the public portion of the meeting. I believe I can answer some of those questions because this application was not put together in a vacuum. I'd be happy to explain what happened prior to this application being prepared and filed.
Okay, just hold on. Let me open the public discussion and then we can absolutely, if you don't mind just waiting 1 minute.
David?
Whatever you need.
Okay, thank you. Councilman DeSena, does that sound okay to you?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, motion to open. Okay, we already had a motion, right?
Well, who motioned? Mike,
I
did
think
you
Mike motioned, somebody second.
I
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, the first part, because I've done these meetings in other municipalities, the plan for this park, as I said, was not just picked out of thin air. I'm surprised to hear what Tom Sears said earlier about having not spoken with me for 8 or 9 months, because I did meet with him and the Green Team on January 16th. And one of the specific projects that he wanted me to look into and go after if money was available was a dog park at Cherry Field. This was confirmed a second time by him and other members of the Green Team when I met with them on February 7th. I believe it was a Don Scuderi and a Patty Chernault. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And they, at that time, indicated that they had also discussed this with Boswell Engineering, and they had concluded at that point that the best place to put the dog park was at Cherry Field. So that decision was made before I even got involved with the grant. And as I said, they were well aware of it. I also explained to the members of the Green Team that, you know, you put together a list of various projects that you want to go after in a municipality because, you know, there's a general cycle of grants that come out, but there's no guarantee as to when they're going to come out. Only that when they do come out, you have a short window of opportunity to file those applications. So the preliminary work had been done, and I had discussed it with John Yakimek of Boswell Engineering and Robert Topol, the business administrator. And again, I did discuss it with the Green Team. And there was consensus that this is where the park should be. There were some preliminary discussions about that and some preliminary plans and estimates put together by Boswell Engineering. So that precipitated the application being filed. And when the application was announced, we first had to file a letter of intent on May 14th. Then we had to wait to find out if Bergen County would accept our project. And they did about 2 weeks later. And then we had a very short window to get the application in. And that's the other part of this. I believe the resolution for the matching funds is also on it. So I can assure you this was not done without input from Boswell Engineering and from Tom Sears and the Green Team. That being said, the project was priced out, and again, the cost estimate was prepared by Boswell Engineering. It came out to, with the construction oversight and management when it's built, to $138,000. So we would be applying for a $69,000 grant, and we would have to come up with $69,000 in matching funds. The dog park itself is going to be approximately a little less than half an acre, about 18,000 square feet, a section for small dogs and a section for large dogs. The location was also selected by Boswell Engineering, and I believe they had discussed that also with the Green Team as to where it would be located. So this, again, was not just randomly selected. When you come in off the field, into the field off Lafayette Avenue, it's that area in the parking lot to the left that has to be cleared, and there'll be various improvements in there, including fencing, removal of trees, benches, access that's also ADA compliant. There'll also be some additional shade trees and landscaping done and some drainage issues. So that's basically the project. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that you have, but I want to assure you again that this was not just haphazardly selected. There was input in this, and once I knew what the Green Team wanted, I discussed it with the business administrator and the engineer. I was ready to go the minute the application came forth. I did not have to discuss it with them anymore. I knew what they wanted, I knew where they wanted, and I had the basic numbers, and that's how we are at this point now, that we have an application filed subject to any additional comments the public may provide for as to what this project involves and where it's located. But it's pretty much etched in stone at this point. I'd be happy to take any of your questions, including questions from the public.
Do you happen to know if the DPD, the Councilman just said the DEP, thank you, were considered, and are we encroaching on the area that was previously referenced as a violation? Sue, could you ask him the question?
Ms. Feeney would like to know if the DEP was considered with the violations making this decision. You know, is that part of the decision? Was that?
The DEP approval is not required for this project.
No, but their consideration with the violations, with the wetlands and that stuff, was that part of the process?
No.
And are we going to be in violation?
I was unaware of any violations, and again, this was selected by Boswell Engineering, and one of the questions I had asked John when we were preparing this were any other permits and approvals required, and the only permit that would be required for this, as he indicated to me, was a soil conservation district permit. That's the only permit that was required, and that's in the application.
Okay.
So Boswell needs to be contacted to figure out if they know.
Yes, Mr. Tovo, that's on your to-do list, correct?
So can I ask the grant writer a question? So we're putting this closest to the homes, not further away from the homes?
Just wait, I wanted to make sure, Mr. Tovo, you're going to reach out to Boswell, correct?
Further away from the homes. When you go into the parking lot, you travel maybe, I don't know, 175 yards, and it's in that tree area. And there's a pile of sand there and some type of opening in the fence, maybe 150, 200 feet into the parking lot on the right-hand side, coming off Lafayette.
So behind the second field, is that what I'm thinking? 175 yards in. So you pull into the parking lot, correct? And the first field is on the left.
Yeah, I don't know, 200 feet, and there's a picket fence here that curves around, and there's an opening in the fence. There's some concrete barricades that were just dropped down there, and a big pile of sand. That's basically where the entrance is going. So it's far removed from any homes, and it's well within the tree area. And there are no houses located.
Is it going in front of the picket fence or behind the picket fence?
Behind the picket fence.
That's the wetland. Okay, all right.
Okay, if we could just check with Boswell and to make sure that we're not going to receive any violations, just to make.
I was aware of the prior penalties involving Sherry Field. Also aware that the area that we've indicated is part of the wetland riparian buffer, but the proposed project meets the guidelines by the DEP.
Let's go.
Mr. Tobo, we have a letter from Mr. Giacchinic stating that?
You certainly have one provided.
Also, it's not the best, but there was something in our packet. It's black and white, a little hard to read, but it does have the language.
Yes, I saw that.
Park is going.
Yes, it is in our packets, yes.
So it's right behind the dead-end houses on Cosman. On the cul-de-sac.
Situated right on the fence area. It doesn't extend too far. It extends from that fence approximately 80 feet from that fence inward, 85 feet. So it doesn't even go close to that tree line behind the parcel. There's more than adequate buffer of a couple hundred feet between that lot, where it's going to be located rather, and anything that's behind those trees. I said it really begins on the edge of the parking lot where the fence is, and it goes in 80 feet, and the length is only 225 feet. So
The 225 feet goes west?
If you look at the fence that runs on the edge of the parking lot,
yes,
the dog park only extends in 85 feet from that fence line.
Oh, I just pulled a map up, Councilman DeSena, on Google, and I see where he's saying, where he's talking about. If you pull it up, you can see it.
Well, I know exactly where he's saying.
Map is there.
Okay.
It's on the site plan. You'll see numbers
It's just
like
a little dark, that's all.
that. As I said, it rests really on the edge of the parking lot. It extends only 85 feet in, which doesn't even come in contact with the tree line.
So does the dog park close in the fall months when we can't use it because of the leaves?
Those rules and regulations as to when you can use it is up to the municipality. You can control access there. It has nothing to do with this application.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking we're going to build it somewhere that as soon as the leaves start getting piled there, we can't use the parking lot.
Right, Councilman DeSena, but I think this gentleman, it wouldn't be his responsibility. It would be up to the administration. So that could be something, you know.
Well, I'm just adding to the poor choice of selection of the site. That's all.
It's closed. It will be closed at night. There's no lighting or anything there. It's strictly during the day.
That I understood. I'm just saying in the leaves, when we have leaf season, we have, front end loaders, tandem trucks being loaded. The yard is closed during those months always, since I've been a resident for the last 23 years. So it'd be hard to use the dog park then.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is where the location that was picked out by the engineer. There's no really other viable area that he's put it in. And
is there a time limit on this grant? If we don't vote, are we going to lose it? What is our timeline on this?
yes, this is due now. There is a very short leash on this, and it's due now to get these public meeting minutes in. If we don't get them in, we'll disqualify us from the grant.
Short leash, huh? Short leash. That's pretty good.
Resolved once we get the grant. And also, when you get to the final point where you're going to actually build it, you have the ability to work with the county. If you have to move it a few feet one way or the other, you can do those types of things.
Changes.
This is
So we're not locked in. If it comes to be that Cherry Field is not the best location for this dog park, you're telling us that if we work with the county, we can move the location based on research that we need to do.
I would say this: if the conceptual plan is for Cherry Field and you want to move it somewhere else in Cherry Field, you have that latitude. If in fact you want to reallocate it to a different park, we still have to go through the same process again. But it's always, once you win the grant, very rarely do they give you the exact amount. We're asking for $69,000. The minute they give us less than that, we have the ability to modify the plan in accordance with the money that's awarded. So do you have the flexibility to relocate it in Cherry Field? Yes, absolutely. Do we have the ability to move it to a different park if that's what you choose, so long as it's a park owned by the municipality? You would be able to do that also.
Okay, so it's really more important at this time that we get the grant so we have the money
Exactly.
Okay.
Always to renegotiate. I've worked with Adam Strobel before in other municipalities. He's the executive director of this now, and he's very flexible. If we do the same type of project in another park, it's not going to be an issue. But
Okay.
don't get this filed, there's nothing to discuss.
Council President Feeney, can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
I guess this question is to the council and the administration. In a non-COVID world, I would be in 100% agreement to build a dog park somewhere in Township. But based on the governor's $10 billion shortfall he's predicting for 2021, I think we need to look at what the grant writer is writing in the future, because I think we're really going to have to tighten our purse strings. And
Councilman DeSena, I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is off topic. I think we need to stay on the dog park.
I'm not in favor of spending $70,000.
Okay, but we need to stay on the dog park. If you're not in favor, then that will show in your vote. But I do not want to bring up issues that aren't around what's on the agenda, please.
It is on the agenda. It's based on the dog park. We're going to spend.
No, what you're saying is not on the agenda.
$70,000 of the taxpayers' money.
Councilman DeSena, you're not. It's not on the agenda.
Yes, it is.
The dog park is not what we do future with the grant writer.
How are we funding the dog park, Mrs. Feeney?
Okay, Councilman DeSena, what I am stating to you directly is that we are discussing the dog park.
Correct.
We are not discussing what the grant writer is doing in the future. That's the difference. Don't change the subject, please. So let's move on with the dog park, please. Does anybody else have questions for the grant writer regarding the dog park?
I'd like to add, with respect to the project, that in terms of a timeline, the actual award of this grant isn't going to happen until probably March or April of next year. So, again, if we don't have this application, we're out of it completely. If things change between now and March or April, we have the latitude to modify the application, assuming that we win it. I mean, there's no guarantee that we're going to win it, but we have that latitude to modify the application once the award is given. And as I said, in Garfield, where I've done a lot of these grants, on numerous occasions, we've had leftover funds and things like that we've been able to reallocate to other projects that meet the criteria for the Bergen County open space program. So I'm not concerned about flexibility, maybe modifying this application once we win. My concern is that we don't get it in on time.
Okay, thank you.
What's our timing?
Because we have to have it, we have to pass it now, or we're not, and it has to be put through, or we're not going to get the grant money. That's what the grant writer is saying.
The purpose of this hearing tonight is if members of the public have any questions about the application. It's not to debate the efficacy of the application. It's just, does the public have any questions? Not the council, but the public have any questions about what we're proposing to do?
We need to open it up to the public.
Yes, well, if the line is open, okay. So we opened it up to the public. Is there anyone on the line regarding the dog?
Now it's going to be open.
Oh, you didn't open it yet. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is there anyone there for any comments on the Open Space Trust Fund?
Yes, this is Michael Ullman.
Yes, Mr. Ullman, how are you?
Good, thank you. Can you describe what type of fencing is going to be used? I'm familiar with the dog park in Ridgewood. It has that nice sort of powder-coated aluminum fence at the duck pond. Are we contemplating something like that?
Type of fencing right now is just listed as chain link fencing. Again, it's subject to what the final award is, and that can be looked at once we win the grant. We're not locked into anything. Again, this is conceptual. It's not the final plan. If we win the grant, we then have a meeting, go in, final plans, and at that point we can make, recommendations to put a different type of fence in or whatever, so long as it falls within the budget parameters of the awards that we get. So, right, as I said, this is a conceptual plan, not the final plan. It's just to give them an idea of what we want to do with the open space money and where we want to do it.
And what's contemplated for ADA access, because it is, I guess, it's an aggregate type of parking lot at the moment. Does it have to be, does part of the parking lot need to be paved to allow access, and is that part contemplated in this application?
Well, that's an interesting point, because we have applied under the Community Development Block Grant Program to do more of that ADA improvements there, and we're not allowed to do it based upon the CDBG guidelines. As far as putting a parking spot in there, that not included in this, but ADA access to walk your dog in there is included as part of the concept. ADA access and seating, benches also all must be ADA and barrier free.
Great, thank you.
And I guess to Mr. DeSena's point, there were, this is a matching grant, so there's
Yes, it's a matching grant.
69,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Grant money?
The project's 138,000. We're applying for the $69,000 grant. We have to match with 69,000 as a match for the project.
So, I mean, you know, similar to Mr. DeSena's comment, I would just say that, you know, we have not really tightened our belts. We had a tax.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ullman, if you don't agree with the spend, please indicate so, but please don't go off topic.
This is certainly on topic.
I'm sorry, I have to disagree. If you disagree with the spend, please say so, but do not go off topic.
You can disagree. It's a public comment on an application. And
right, but it has nothing to do with other grant applications.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have given the pricing. You would have just said you want to put a dog park there.
No, that's the grant it's the whole grant application.
The amount that is required for the grant as well as the township's contribution. So if we can't comment on how much this is going to cost and what that potential is to impact is to residents, I don't understand why you're having a public comment session.
Mr. Ullman, I did not say that. I said if you disagree with the spend, please go ahead and comment. I asked if you would just stay on topic.
Is not relevant to the discussion, that's fine. If you could just let me know when we are going to have that discussion.
Mr. Ullman, Mr. Ullman, Mr. Ullman, Mr. Ullman?
Yes.
Okay, what I said was please stay on topic. Please do not go off topic and address other grants. That's what I said. I did not say anything else.
I didn't address any other grants.
You were referring.
I asked the funding mechanism for this grant. And I was making a comment relative to the funding mechanism of this grant. The fact that approximately $70,000 in taxpayer funds will be used to pay for this. And when I look at the project in its entirety, I say I'm not in support of a $70,000 outlay for a dog park in the current environment.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think it's important, though, to say, you know, what the grant writer had discussed and what he said was because it wouldn't be, we can do anything. I mean, we can pull back, we can scale back, we can completely withdraw the application, right? Up until, as long as we get it and we get it approved, we have from now until March of 2021 to pull back if we decide, you know, it's not really in the town's best interest, but at least we won't lose it by not applying. Is that correct?
So you could always turn down the grant at a later date.
Right.
Like I said, you have about, you know, until March or April of next year to before an award would be made. So nobody has a crystal ball as to what will be going on you know, at that point. But, you know, as I said, if you win the award and at that point the economics are worse or you don't want to come up with it, you can turn down the award.
Right.
But you'd like to be able to make that decision. And the only way you can make that decision is two things have to be submitted to complete the application. The minutes that I'm keeping from this meeting, and secondly, the resolution approving the matching funds, which is also on the agenda. So those are the last two things to complete the application. If you don't complete that, we'll deem our application incomplete, and that's the end of it.
Right. So I think Mr. Ullman had valid points. It is a lot of money, and it is the climate has changed right now. But I think not approving it would be irresponsible of us. We have an opportunity that really doesn't impact us in a negative way if we're able to pull back later on and reevaluate it. So I think it would be smart to move forward, and then we have that safety net of being able to pull back if it doesn't make sense. But Mr. Ullman's point is 100%
So we
valid.
withdraw the county
also,
award. And
you know,
things is, let's just say they give you $30,000 instead of $69,000. Well, obviously, that's not enough to do. You could say, no, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the town has missed out on some opportunity to get that money, and I don't think we should do that this time. Again, we have some flexibility, just so everyone, the public and everyone's aware. This does not mean that tonight we're spending $70,000. It means that this vote tonight will allow us to vote to apply and get the grant money.
You know what I think is great? It's moving the town forward without that risk, because we can pull back if we need to. So I think it's a good thing.
Yes, I agree with you.
Is there anyone else on the line that would like to make a public comment?
Yes, I would like to speak if I can. Mrs. Wojcicki?
Stacy, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Mrs. Wojcicki, how can we help you?
I'm calling in regards to Sherry Field. My son used to play soccer on that field. It was horrible back then.
I'm sorry, I need your name for the minutes. Who's speaking, please?
It's Mrs. Wojcicki.
Oh, I'm sorry. Catherine Wojcicki.
Thank you. And your comment?
Well, what I was stating is that Sherry Field has been horrible since my son played soccer there, and he's 41 now.
Yes, Mrs. Wojcicki. I thank you very much for that.
Okay. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you for calling in.
Okay.
Is there anyone else on the line?
Is there anyone else on the line for public comment? Open space? Hello?
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 Yes.
Yes, may I ask who's calling?
Yes, it's Mary Gozell, 464 Van Emberg Ave, Township of Washington.
Yes, Mrs. Gozell, how can we help you in regards to the Open Space Trust Fund?
Well, I've been watching the entire session, and I've been noticing that councilperson Ms. Feeney disagrees with the people that are calling Mr. Ullman and Councilman DeSena. Whenever they have a criticism, it seems that if it's not according to what she's feeling, she gets a little bit annoyed.
And Mrs. Gazelle, I'm sorry, but this section of the meeting has been allotted for the Open Space Trust Fund. So we do need to keep it to that, because this part of the public meeting is for that. I'm very sorry to cut you off, but if you have a comment regarding the municipal program park improvement grant application.
I agree with Mr. Ullman when he called and you cut him off. I think that it's a public meeting and people need to speak and announce their feelings.
And I absolutely asked him to, and I said, please just stay on topic.
You agree with them, you actually cut them off. And that's all I have to say.
Do you have a comment regarding the Open Space Trust Fund?
Yes, I think the comments were that at this time, the amount of money that we have to spend is for a dog park, and I've had dogs, is excessive. So you really need to hear what the public is saying. That's all.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
but Mrs. Gazelle, if you would wait 1 second, I just want to clarify that this vote tonight is not to spend $70,000 right now, right this second. This vote is only to let the grant writer file the application. And then again, we have the right to not do anything with the money. However, if we don't vote tonight and pass it, we lose out on any money that we could put towards this project. Just so to clarify, and so you're aware that this vote tonight is not to just spend $70,000.
Okay, and that's great. But when people have certain comments, you shouldn't cut them off. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much for calling in, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
And I don't think it's right. That's all. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the line to make a public comment on the Open Trust Fund, Open Space Trust Fund? Hello? Hello? Is there anyone out there?
Motion to close public discussion on the Open Space Trust Fund.
So you want to play for that?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution number 20-246, authorized submission of a Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund matching grant application for the amount of $69,000. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
No.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
No.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
David, do you need anything else from the council?
I'm sorry, what was the final vote?
3-2. 3 yeses, 2 nos.
3 yes, 2 no.
Yes.
That's all I need. Thank you. Appreciate your help.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, just for my own curiosity, and obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but since there's no risk and there's only room to improve, why the no? What are you guys afraid of?
Because Desiree, by us applying for the grant and not being 100% committed to funding it, takes away the opportunity for other communities to receive that grant money. Either we are 100% for it and we apply for the grant, but applying for grants and taking up money that other communities could use is senseless to me, and it's not required.
But the grant is for the open space, right? So if we're in a position due to COVID, isn't everyone else?
That's not true. Other communities qualify in different matters. But, you know, if they apply for more and they get less, whatever it may be. But I think if you're not willing to apply for the grant and be 100% committed, like I wasn't, that's why I voted no.
But doesn't the money revert back to the Open Space Trust Fund?
Correct, but it screws up people's planning and other things when they get the original award amount.
But it does revert back to the Open Space Trust Fund, and the money is still there for other communities.
Absolutely, but it comes back
to apply again for. So it's not that we're taking money, not using it. The money goes away. The money does revert back to the Open Space Trust Fund.
We have a chance to
I just wanted to make sure, I'm
it.
trying to be as responsible with the money as we possibly can, and still, continue to move forward. And this had zero risk, so that's why I'm glad it passed. But I just want to understand where you guys were coming from.
I'm a proponent of the park. I have been for the last 8 years, but I don't think that location is the best for it, and I wouldn't want to take it away from another community that might need it at this point. This is not the first time we would turn down the grant. We've done it in the past for various reasons, and the money's going to be there next year. We'll have grant money if the situation changes, if we get a better location. Apparently the green team wasn't sold on it for whatever reason, according to Mr. Sears. So I'd like to get his input on where things are before I commit cash. That we'll probably get anyway, in the future. I don't think that now's the right time to do the dog park.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to.
No vote is a no
inform with
vote.
that. Thank you.
So, if you can't change it next month.
So, and Councilman Casio, please make sure that you report back to the council on your meeting with Mr. Sears, the grant writer, and the engineer.
Oh, yes, we will.
Great, thank you. Okay, there's no adoption, second reading of ordinances, introduction, first reading. An ordinance amending littering provisions in the Code of the Township of Washington to include surgical and medically protected masks and gloves to require a mandatory court appearance for violations. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 20-09 at first reading by title. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second it.
May I ask a question of Mr. Pollard?
Of course.
Mr. Pollard?
Excuse me, Stace, I can't hear.
Oh, okay, well, all right, so we can hear you, Desiree. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but when you just said, of course, I don't know what you're talking about.
So Mr. Cummings would like to ask Mr. Pollard a question.
Okay, I can't hear that.
Okay, well, just wait. Let's see what Mr. Cummings says if you can hear him after that.
Okay.
Mr. Pollard, just for my information, and I should know this, what is the maximum penalty permitted under 1-1, Chapter 1, general provision, please?
The general provisions, I believe it's is $2,000 or 90 days in jail. That's off the top of my head. That's the general provision for general violations. I mean, I could pull it up on my code, but that's off the top.
No, I'm sorry to have to ask. I apologize. That was something that I was familiar with otherwise, and just for my information. Thank you kindly.
I'll certainly give you the section by an email if you want. I can give that to you.
When you have time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
They hardly ever enforce that, but it is something that is available.
As the general penalty for violations of ordinances, unless the ordinance specifically provides for a certain penalty. Like for this, I believe, and it's it's been a long time since they even look at this ordinance because it was sent to you a long time ago. But was a specific amount that they had to get fined for the masks, correct?
Yep.
$150 per offense.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Mr. Pollard, can you review resolution number 20-246? The mayor and council of the Township of Lyndhurst are willing to use the county trust fund is one of the paragraphs. So can you have that revised, please, after you review it?
Can you do that again?
Resolution number 20-246 says the mayor and council of the Township of Lyndhurst are willing to review okay, that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, I didn't do the resolution. But
Yeah, it came in from the grant writer.
Yeah.
I will correct that.
Must be a word perfect ghost. That happens. I saw that too, Mike, and I sent a picture of it to Ms. Witkowski.
I will have that changed before it is signed.
Okay. Councilman Casio, do you have any comments regarding this ordinance?
Well, yes, I don't like specifying particular items that would be considered waste. Waste is waste to me, whether it's a glove or a mask or a piece of candy wrapper. I think it's a little overreaching. I will vote yes for the amendment, but again, you can't legislate good behavior, unfortunately, and we can't get too nitpicky. So in the future, I would report that the council consider that. So those are my comments on that.
Councilwoman Morgan, do you have any comments?
No, I think because of the hazard that it poses, I think it's fair.
Anybody else have any comments before we move forward?
Madam President, we're trying to address a new problem in a new situation the best way that we can, and I think we've answered the questions and concerns.
Okay. Yes, I agree. Yes, and I didn't cut anybody off, so we should all clap hands. Yes.
Thank you for not cutting me off this time.
You're very welcome.
Who knows about next time, though? I mean, you know.
I'll just make sure I do it next time. No, don't worry.
You're the chief cutter, I guess.
I guess, but you know what? It's in my job description. Okay. Sue,
You
roll
are the
call.
president. Ma'am.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Sue, I lost my place. I'm at the top of page 3, correct?
I don't know what you have because I'm on the Word document on the computer. You're going to start with resolution 20247.
Okay.
Yes. Top of page 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
No, it's okay. I was taking notes.
No.
Okay, resolution number 20-247, authorizing publication of ordinance number 20-09 and schedule a public hearing. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? I'll
Second.
second. Okay. Sue, roll call. Does anybody want to have a further discussion or no?
We've discussed, ma'am.
I'm just checking. Councilman, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. Ordinance number 20-10, an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of the Township of Washington, setting forth the range of compensation and manner of payment of employees for the year 2020. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 20-10 at first reading by title. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I'll motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Sorry, okay. Ordinance an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of the Township of Washington, setting forth the range of compensation and manner of payment for employees for the year 2020. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 20-10, first reading by title. May I have a motion?
We just did that, Tracy. Yeah, Mr.
Oh, sorry, you know what? My mic was on speaker, sorry.
That's okay. So now we're roll call. Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Resolution number 20-248, authorizing publication of ordinance number 20-10 and schedule public hearing. May I have a motion? I'll motion. May I have a second?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Ordinance number 20-11, bond ordinance appropriating $2.5 million and authorizing the issuance of $2,380,500 bonds for notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Township of Washington in the County of Bergen, New Jersey. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 20-11 at first reading by title. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Do we want to discuss? Councilman Casio, do you have any comments regarding this one?
As long as I can hold on to the fire truck, I'm fine with it.
I'm sorry, but Councilman Casio, can you just repeat that one more time, please?
Sure. As long as they're going to hold this, the ordinance for the bonding, correct? For $2.5 million bonding? Yeah.
As long as they're.
No, we missed that word.
As long as they're going to hold on to the fire truck until we have a fire,
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
Mr. Mayor, could you please confirm that? Or Mr. Tovo?
That's the rain.
Sorry, I thought he said something else.
What was the question? Are we going to put the truck somewhere else until the firehouse is built?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman DeSena, do you have any comments regarding this?
Can Mr. Tovo elaborate on E?
So E is the improvement of the municipality-owned properties and facilities in and by the township, including the public library.
No.
E, that's what I have for you.
Including the public library by remodeling of the entrance and reconfiguring of the installation of access control, municipal building renovation thereof, the acquisition and installation of access control, and a building control system. What kind of access control are we getting, Mr. Tovo?
We don't know what the manufacturer is going to be yet, but this is the catch-all ordinance that covers all the building upgrades, including library and this building.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions, Mr. DeSena, or no?
That's all.
Okay. Councilwoman Morgan.
No, I'm good.
Vice President's coming. Do you have any questions regarding this?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. I do not have any questions. My only question was also the same as Councilman Cassio's. Are they going to hold the fire truck? Okay. So everybody's good? No more comments? Sue, roll call.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Resolution number 20-249, authorizing publication of ordinance number 20-11 and schedule a public hearing. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Sue, roll call.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan. Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, there are no individual resolutions this evening. The following resolutions and consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such items removed from the consent agenda. Does anyone have any resolutions listed below which they'd like to have removed from the consent agenda for discussion prior to the group vote?
Can we remove 20-250?
Sure. Does anyone else want any additional items removed?
No, that's what I wanted removed too.
Okay.
Oh, and 25, can we have information on 253 also, please? Can we remove that, please?
The snowplow agreement?
Yep.
Okay, did you receive the copy in your packet?
Yes, I just wanted to talk to Mr. Tovo about it.
Okay. We will be approving during this motion the items of resolution number 20-251, authorize the sale of surplus property online no longer needed for public use on an online auction website. Resolution number 20-252, authorize refund of engineering escrow monies 376 Beach Street, block 4304, lot 37, not to exceed $390.75. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Councilman DeSena, you want to discuss the payment of bills?
Yes.
Which items on the bills would you like to discuss?
The same one Mr. Allman discussed before for Dutra for $6,700 for 727 Amherst Drive. Didn't we pay this already, Mr. Tovo?
I believe we did. I had that flag as well to check with posting. That person was remote today, so they'll have to answer for me tomorrow.
Any other items on the bill list, Councilman DeSena?
That was the only one because we paid it already. I just want to make sure we weren't paying it twice.
Okay, so Mr. Chova, before that's paid, you're going to check with Mr. Corcoran, I'm assuming?
That is correct.
Okay. Councilwoman Morgan, you had some,
I have a question. I'm just curious about the street sweeping services.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see them. I never see it. We paid $4,500. We're billed $4,500. When and where and how often are we having street sweeping?
We try to do once every quarter. think their performance has improved over the last year or so. If you have concerns for a particular street, let me know, and we'll make sure it gets done. There should be every street in town once a quarter.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Every street in town once a quarter.
Okay, I'm sorry. It must be me. I must just be missing it. Like, I'm not out when it's out. I'm not hearing it or seeing it. Is everyone else seeing it happen?
Yes.
Is the rest of the council seeing the street sweeper?
I have, but I'm home during the day.
When I'm out and about, I'd see
I
it.
just wanted to make sure. I mean, it's not a significant amount of money, but it's enough for me to never see it. So I just wanted to question it.
Well, you work too hard.
That's true. That's very true.
You know, you're at work overtime when the sweeper's going. I think, no disrespect at all, you know.
And Desiree, they also give us a report as to how much debris they have picked up, I believe, by weight, right, Bob?
They did, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Great.
Councilman
Thank you.
Morgan, would you like a copy of the report?
I'm actually, I'm okay.
Oh, okay, because I'm sure Mr. Tovo could forward it to you.
Yeah, I want a copy of a report, just not that one, and I'll get to that.
Okay, so let's vote on, does anybody have any more questions on the payment of bills, resolution number 20-250?
No, I emailed my questions in.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're very welcome. Okay, let's approve resolution number 20-250. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, discussion on resolution number 20-252. I did this wrong, so I'm going to do this right now. May I have a motion to open the discussion?
For 253.
253.
now.
Okay,
right.
yes, 253, sorry, yes.
Motion, I was going to put Councilman DeSena because he was one that asked to have it pulled.
That sounds great. And we need a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion on the shared service snow plow agreement with the County of Bergen for 2 seasons, 2020 through 2022.
Mr. Kova, who submits this to the county for reimbursement?
Coming from DMF to the county or DPW to the county.
And who verifies all the hours that are worked for the reimbursement?
It's first submitted from the employee to the department head and then verified by payroll.
And we're sure we've been reimbursed the last few years?
We have been, yes.
Okay.
We certainly were last year.
What's that?
We certainly were last year.
Can we check the prior year?
Can you do that?
Thank you.
What did you do? About $10 last year. Huh?
That's all I have, Mr. Katie.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody want to discuss this item?
Good grief,
Okay.
no.
Okay, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes, and let's just keep in mind, let's keep our comments pleasant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I must be missing something.
No, it's okay. You're fine.
Okay. I can't
Wish I
hear
would-
Mr. Cumming at all.
Maybe that's a blessing.
So, okay, so I'm going to adjourn to conference agenda, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break, if that's okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, adjournment to conference agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Ricky, text me when you were off, please. Current business, we're on to conference agenda for everybody who's watching. Administration, we're going to skip the project tracker unless Mr. Mayor, you had an update on the intersection property acquisition, though. I think that's something that's important that needs to be mentioned.
Yeah, as I said in my monthly report, we tried negotiating with people that we needed land acquisition from, as we're supposed to by law before we initiate condemnation proceedings. We were successful in some cases, not so successful in others. And so on those where we were not, we have started the condemnation process.
So that's eminent domain?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Okay, just making it clear to the public.
Yeah, and the only other thing Bob told me on his way out was, Mike, on the roads you said, he said some of those PSE and G is doing, but he will research which ones and get the website updated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask something that Mr. Tovo? I guess I could send an email as well, but I just want to add to. I don't know if it's necessarily the project tracker, but it says other and miscellaneous. So this is my miscellaneous.
Go for it.
I would like tighter monitoring on the property maintenance ordinances. I want to know when they're complete and when they're incomplete. There's a lot of properties that are being identified as an issue, and I just want to know. I don't just want a list of what's complete. I want a list monthly, or I'd like to ask for a list monthly to find out exactly what's been done in that month, how many houses they were seeing, what the outcome was, and how many are still open-ended. So if you could just kind of put that on there.
I'd be happy to. And let me say, I already spoke to the code enforcement official about giving us all more information. So your comment is timely with what I already told him, but I'll reinforce it again.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Great. I think that's a great idea, a great thing. Okay, so council ordinance and legislation, sample resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. Did everybody read the sample resolution?
Yes.
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 So I'm looking for everybody's opinion. What do you think? Is it something that we should work on in town, or?
Who goes first?
Councilman Casio. We'll do alphabetical so it's fair.
I read through it. I don't think you'll need a resolution regarding this. Quite honest with you, I don't see it as being a public health crisis. You can't legislate everything, and resolutions are nice if they actually accomplish something. I don't think this really would accomplish much. That being, I'm not an advocate for it.
Thank you, Councilman Casio. Councilman DeSena? I'm sorry, Councilman Cummings. Sorry, I lost my alphabet. Sorry.
Okay. After a lot of consideration and discussion in the household, and I'm not stealing Dr. Casio's thoughts. My first one is, do we need this ordinance in our town? The second point that I have is, what issues do we have that are occurring in our town? The third thing is, what policies do we already have in place to address discrimination in the workplace, schools, organizations, etc.? And fourth, should we review the existing policies to see if we wish to make changes, because we adopt things right in the beginning of the year? We adopted the affirmative action resolution. If I'm not incorrect, don't we do that every year, Mike?
Yes.
And we've done that all along. Okay.
Yeah.
Rather than have a new resolution, I think we have a very wonderful staff in all areas of the municipal government. And I think we have a wonderful police department, continue to have a wonderful police department that is well-trained in this area as well as other areas and retrained. I think they have a good outlook, and I think we handle things very well, and everyone gets very fair, honest, open, warm, and congenial treatment. And I do not believe a resolution would be required for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice President Cummings. Your opinions are really appreciated. Councilman
Thank you for the
DeSena.
opportunity.
You're welcome. Sorry, I didn't need to change before.
I'm in agreement with Dr. Cascio and Vice President Cumming on this issue. I'm still, I read the paragraphs about stigma-free. I still, 2 years ago, I had requested signs be posted at all the entrances to the town that we were a stigma-free community. I was told at the time that we were going to get the signs, and it's 2 years. We still don't have the signs. I know I was able to get it added to our email addresses, which is fine. But I would like the stigma-free signs put up at all the entrances under the Welcome to Township signs, like we were promised 2 years ago.
I agree.
I
I'm
agree.
I'm a little partial to it, but I agree. It was my baby, so.
I just made note of it, and I'll make sure it happens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Morgan, do you have any
Thank you, Mr.
comments
Mayor.
on the racism possible?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with adopting a resolution for that. I think anytime you can show solidarity and support, because to say that we collectively as a human race don't have that would be ignorant. We do have, there is a need for it. This has, by absolutely no stretch of the imagination, has any impact or ideas that the police do. And I mean, that's not how this reads, because I am 110% in support of our police. We have an amazing group of people who go above and beyond to make sure the community knows that we are all community partners. It's never us and them. So in that sense, we don't necessarily have any issues in that area. But I think to align with the rest of our brothers and sisters everywhere and throughout our whole community, throughout our whole county, we should do this in a show of solidarity and support. But that's just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. And I read through it. I thought that this should be brought to the council's attention, that this is what other municipalities are doing, especially with what's going on in the world. I think at this time, I'm not going to pursue it any further. If somebody else would like to, I think that since the majority of the council is not interested, and I do agree with Councilwoman Morgan that this is not directed at the police at all. But I'm not sure if right now we should pursue this, but I would like to bring this up at a later date. Does anybody else have any other comments?
No.
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, all right, moving on. Properties to be reviewed for maintenance issues. Councilwoman Morgan, did you receive the email from Sue, from Mr. Sadekis?
For the property maintenances.
Yeah, for the list that he sent out. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you got it. So if there's anything on there you wanted specifically to discuss.
I did, and that's where my thoughts are, that it's not inclusive of maybe the work he's doing that I'm not seeing, like the open-ended properties that are still either not adhering to, are not being addressed, because there were at least, so of the 5 that I brought attention to, only 1 was addressed on there. So,
Okay.
There are definitely things that I want to see on a report, and much more frequently, but Mayor says that he's on it, so.
Okay. And I agree with you. I wanted to just make sure you had it in case you had any questions.
I did get
Madam President? Yeah, Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Cummings.
May I say I had occasion to check some of the air conditioning up at the administration building today, and I conferred with Joy. I should have named names. Well, she was helping me, and I'm working with her, with Mr. Tovo's knowledge and I hope approval, to try to clear up one of these problems, and I'm working on clearing up the other of these problems, one on Pascack and one on Chestnut, because it was my vocation for 12 years, and if I can bring anything to the table, I'd like to try, so that we all have a better place to live.
Thank you.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Does anybody else have any other comments? Okay. food establishments is the, under financials is the next item. I did review the Northwest Bergen Health, and I brought this up previously. I'd like to propose reducing the fees to the restaurants in half for next year, but only if they apply for, that they're having troubles. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. I think that this would be a good gesture to help our businesses in town who are struggling, the restaurants. And it would not be an automatic given. My proposal is to allow them to send an email with reasons why they're struggling and what their current financial situation is. Not that they have to go into significant detail, but if they can show enough cause, we can reduce their fees in half. You've all been in receipt of the fees over the past 3 years, I believe, was sent out. I believe 3 years. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Again, have you discussed this with Northwest Bergen? Would they be able to still do their job if we reduce the fees?
So we pay a flat fee. The fees are not tied to Northwest Bergen Health's agreement.
Like, I really don't understand where we're going with this. If the establishments are that poorly, unfortunately, they'll probably go out of business. I know a lot of establishments in town, fortunately, are having, a great year because of COVID, because a lot of people are taking takeout all the time. So I feel bad for the ones that are hurting, if there are any. I'm sure there are, but I don't understand why we need to do this.
How soon can we do this if we do it? Because I thought you just said, and if I misunderstood, I apologize, that this would be effective for next year?
Yes, it would be effective for next year since they've already paid their fees for this year.
Oh. Is there any way we can do anything sooner for them? Because
Well, we have to refund their money or give them a credit, I believe.
I think that everybody in this business needs help right away. I'm just my observation.
And I don't mean to be, and I'm by no means do I mean to be cold or callous or whatever. How much would this actually help them?
Yeah.
It would be 50% of the fees. Some of the fees are pretty high. I mean, did you receive the email from Sue? And some of the
I didn't think they were significant, but that, when I say significant, what I mean is that they didn't seem like if we did this, the value to it would be there for them.
I think it would, because on some of them, it's upwards of $700. So $350 could be two or three people's salaries for a day. So, that's the thing, is that in order to help them get back to work and even to buy expenses or bring more people back. I mean, I know that when you're running a small business, that any amount helps.
But if you're at that point, Stace, you're already...
Yes, you're in dire straits.
No, I tend to disagree, because even for like originals, like it would help them also, or Lily's. You don't have to be a giant business to get an impact. I mean, you're just talking about originals or Lily's or even the new Dairy Queen, which I'm sure he's not as busy as.
They approached you. Are you referencing those businesses because they've approached you to have this reduced, Stacy?
Well, I know a few of them have, yes, in town. They are looking for any help that they can possibly get. And I think if we can keep the businesses in town in business, I think that's something that this council should be much for.
Have we run the numbers? And if we cut it in half, will we still be able to pay our Northwest Bergen bill?
So this amount of money does not cover in any year the entire Northwest Bergen Health bill. It doesn't cover the whole thing by any. It's not even close to it.
But now it's going to cover even less if we go.
Yeah, I mean, the taxpayers are
not designed to cover the whole Northwest Bergen.
What's that?
The fees that are incurred by those businesses are not supposed to cover the whole bill.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
No, it's not even covering the fraction that it does.
Offset the expense of the township.
And Stacy, does this include their inspection fees, or this is above and beyond their inspection fees?
I believe that Sue, correct me if I'm wrong, when we discussed it, the inspection fees are included in the fee that we paid to Northwest Bergen Health.
Yes, it's not broken out.
Yes.
Okay, so these are more like licensing fees?
These are business license fees, yes.
Okay, thank you.
which is at the council's discretion. This is not directly related to the health department inspections. This is a business licenses to operate in the town.
But ultimately, whatever we take out of it has to be subsidized by the taxpayers.
Which they are currently. I mean, this doesn't come anywhere near the amount of money that we pay to Northwest Bergen Health. This doesn't cover half.
Well, maybe that's an issue to begin with.
Yeah, but our fees are pretty, I mean, in my opinion, from past business licenses that I see on a regular basis, some of our restaurants pay a lot.
Plus, that's not all that Northwest does for us. Is they do more outside the
That's
restaurant.
only a fraction. That's only
Yeah.
one
That's only a fraction. You can't look at Northwest Bergen Health just covers the restaurants.
No, but
There's so much more that they do, and this piece that I'm talking about is the business license in town. And I just thought, as a gesture, that we're all referencing how tough times are, and we're saying how we wish COVID wasn't happening. We can't wait for it to be over. But no one wants to step up and say, the people in our town, and you have to also understand, a lot of these restaurants in town or food establishments give to the schools and the fire department and the police department and give a tremendous amount back. I just, viewing what's going on, feel that maybe it's time we give a little bit back to them. And again, this would not be everybody. It would not be an automatic grant. They would have to contact the town to say that they'd like their fees reduced.
Yeah, but who's going to be the arbiter of that, Stacy?
So I think, Sue, you take care of the licenses?
The health department does, yes. Cornelia and I share that responsibility.
So I think we would make it a coordinating effort between the administration and the council can review it, just to give a small gesture here.
The only problem I have with that is that's really gonna splitting hairs. Like, you're gonna get it, but you're not gonna get it, and you're gonna get it.
No, I'm not splitting hairs. If Seasons doesn't apply for it, they don't apply for it. But you don't know that. Some might not.
So everyone who applies, this would be granted to.
They'd have to say they're in specific financial.
Let's say I'm a restaurant owner. I'm gonna. I mean, my business would be down at least 25%, right? Because everyone, like Mr. DeSena said, is ordering takeout. I'm gonna be one of the people to say, what do I have to say? Okay, then I'm going to write that because I want that. But
we're also trying to help them. This is not I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying that back to our town, they give a lot to us. I mean, look at Town Day. I mean,
but we patronize them, and that's how we help them. We don't help them by cutting fees and spreading their burden amongst all the taxpayers. We patronize them. All the citizens in township should be patronizing our local businesses. I bought a cake for my wife tonight for her birthday at the new Dairy Queen. It was
that has not been the consistent case over the last few months. Some of those establishments,
we can't control that.
Right, we can't control that. So some of those establishments haven't been open. But now we do have a position here that we can control something and give them something to help them stay in business. It's not just that their businesses in town. Some of them are families in town who have children in the school system, things
I don't know
like
how
that.
350 helps them.
Stacy, may I ask Sue a question or two?
Sure.
Oh, no.
No, you either know it or you don't. When do the establishments pay these licensing fees? What part of the year?
We usually put the letters out the end of November, and we do it the end of the year for the beginning of the year, in January.
All right, because I was going to say, maybe we hold off until then, since you're talking next year anyway. Why don't we see how the economy has done? We'll know better what budget shape we're in for next year by then. And also, you can give us, if every restaurant took advantage of it, what the financial hit would be.
Okay.
Thanks.
That sounds reasonable, for sure.
Councilman Canastio, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I have a question to you, Sue. Do other establishments, other than food establishments, have a business fee in town? Or is it just food establishments through your office?
Well, the swimming pools have to pay a fee. The vending machines at the schools pay a fee. The supermarket pays a fee.
But
So it's
other establishments that don't serve food, okay, and don't serve alcohol.
Yeah, and alcohol is totally separate.
Right, I understand. That's APC.
Mm-hmm.
They pay like the fitness place down in town. Do they pay a fee to the township?
Yes.
They do. Okay. So would those establishments also be involved with this?
Yes, this is for a business license. This is for the business license, which in 2020 we corrected roughly $7,000 for.
The question is, does this apply to all businesses in the town that have a business license or have fees imposed by the township on them?
Does not fees, so just to clarify, this is only for this type of fee, this business license. This is not related to any other fee. This is only for the business license in town.
So every business that has in town would get a break.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I just want to make sure it's just the business license. So, and if you don't have the numbers and you don't have the email from Sue, I'll be more than happy to forward it to whoever needs it.
I'd like to see the numbers.
Okay, I'll forward you the email. Am I allowed to just forward it to one person? Just check it.
Well, forward it to Sue. I'm sure we'll get it today.
I'll send it
Okay.
out. I'll send
Okay,
all
thanks.
the pictures again so that they can see a comparison. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, it was on, hold on, I'll tell you.
That's
May
right.
I please also have,
I'll pull up.
Sue, can I have one too?
I'll send it to everybody so you have a nice fresh copy.
That's the best way. Thank you.
It was June 1st, it was sent to everybody, Sue.
Okay, thank you, Stacey.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank
The next item is something we've definitely talked about this evening already. I don't know if we need to cover it again, is lightning
No.
detection system.
No, we
the-
don't.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to point out was that Mr. Tovo, the email was forwarded to everybody. I just want to make sure everybody received it of who Mr. Tovo forwarded the email to. That, hold on. That day. Just everybody did receive all of those emails?
I'm not sure. I will check.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to say regarding that?
No.
Okay. The next item, okay. Councilwoman Morgan,
I'm good.
Mr. Cummings.
I certainly spoke my piece about the lightning.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
next, you're welcome. The next item is 184 Finnerty Place correspondence. Everybody has now received the engineer's report, which was we left it open last meeting because we did not have the engineer's report.
I disagree. I disagree with the engineer's report, and I was going to call him if it was okay with the mayor. It's basically a question of pumping a dead head, right? If you have a pipe, right, Mr. Cumming will probably appreciate this. If we take a pipe, if it's 8 inches or 6 inches, and we fill it solid with grease, and then we try to flow water through it, what happens, Mr. Cumming? It doesn't flow, correct?
That's right, sir.
So if your lateral is hooked up to this pipe, which is full of grease, which we had inspected, and it runs for months and months on end trying to pump water out of it, and it burns out, that is not the homeowner's fault. And I disagree with the engineer in his report that because the pump burned out from running consistently, well, it was running consistently because it was pumping into a pipe full of grease. So therefore, it could never discharge all the water out of the sump pump. So therefore, it burned out. And how we blame, we're trying to help the licensees in the restaurants. We have a homeowner that spent $7,000. And I believe we have we have grease traps that haven't been maintained by our health department and our officials in town, for the strip mall. That is the biggest contributor of grease to our system. And we had a due diligence to make sure those grease traps were pumped out on a monthly basis like the law states, and we didn't do that. So, we're putting all the burden on Mrs. Lipnick. She did everything she has. She has a residential home. Her sump pump failed because it's pumping into a pipe full of grease.
Mr. Michael, may I ask a question pursuant to what you were asking me before?
Yeah.
What about, now the sump pump was pumping over and over and over again. Okay, so you stated that. But then what about the rest of the household wastewater? Were they able to flush?
That's why she was having problems with flushing, because it would take a long time to dissipate in her out of the unit.
But
she always had problems with this. That's why they wrote her unit.
Only the pump burned out, not Because
no, she had a backup into her basement with sewage.
Oh.
Yeah, because the pipe was full of grease. So when she was flushing her toilets, it was infiltrating as much as it could until it got to the point of refusal where it was full 100%. They roto-rooted it out after her basement flooded with sewage. I mean, so how we blame this on Mrs. Lipnick, I don't know how we do that. You know, we have confirmation the pipe was full of grease.
Yes, but my only question is that the engineer's report says he thinks the pump was broken before.
Well, again, the pump's going to break. There's no pump that's
No, but I know, Councilman DeSena, I'm just saying, based upon what it says in here, I'm just want to know if the pump was broken before, you know, I just am finding.
Well, had the pump replaced once it broke. I mean, that's the point. And it took another 2 months for them to finally realize they had to roto-rooter all the grease out of the line from the strip mall. So it still was 2 months after that, Stacy, that it happened. So how we deny this claim, I mean, is I can't believe we're even talking about this. This should have been paid months ago.
Well, we didn't. Number one, we didn't have the engineer's report, and you even said that in the last meeting. So that's
fine. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm just saying.
Okay, but I'm just clarifying that.
And I asked
previously that we.
Can I ask a question, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how much is this claim? $7,000, you said? Right?
I forget the exact. I used that as a random number, Mr. Poller.
Should we submit this to JIF at least?
Absolutely.
I mean, before we lay out money from the taxpayers, we are covered by insurance. If this is a legitimate claim,
it is.
Should we send this to the insurance company and they can pay it if it is legitimate, like you're saying?
Yeah, because you can't have it both ways. You know, on Amherst Drive, the person's pipe was full of roots, so the town spent $6,700 to fix their sewer line. But here we are, Mrs. Lipnick, she knows she's got the problem from the strip mall, and we're saying, no, we're not paying your $67. I'm making up the numbers, Mr. Poller, but it's close to that number. Mrs. Lipnick, no, we fixed the pipe, you know, the person's sewer on Amherst, but we're saying no to you because we don't want to say, we want to say no to you.
I don't really, Councilman DeSena, I really don't think that's a fair statement because nobody said no to Mrs. Lipnick. Just let me finish, please. Nobody on this council said no to Mrs. Lipnick on the previous meeting. Not one person on this council did. The consensus of council was that we did not have the engineer's report and we needed more information. So please keep it to what actually happened. There is not a single person on this council who has said no to Mrs. Lipnick. I want to be crystal clear on that.
The administration has said no in his email.
Let me go.
So, but the thing is, that still has to come to council. So let's go ahead, Mr. Poller.
Right. Here's how I view it. I mean, this is the way I look at it. You know, it's a question. It's a question that needs to be decided. We have an engineer that says it should not be our responsibility. You're an engineer. You're saying it should be our responsibility. So I think a claim that goes to the insurance company, they'll determine whether it's our responsibility. If it is our responsibility, they will pay it. If they feel it's not our responsibility, they won't. If they feel it's a partial payment, they'll take care of it. But at least we're not paying it out of pocket, and we're getting an independent, determination as to liability and damages. That we are insured, so this is clearly a claim. I mean,
so we should submit Amherst Drive too, Mr.
Councilman DeSena, the other thing too is if everybody received the email from Boswell, there are several reasons also in there that we have to consider. Because, if we are going to say when these issues arise, that we're going to go along with what the engineer's report says, I mean, you have to follow suit on every claim.
Well, why didn't we get an engineer's report at 677 Amherst Drive, Stacy? Why didn't we?
I can only answer
to fix his sewer line.
I can only answer to this item at this time. But what I'm saying is that we have to be consistent with following what's going on.
Well,
and
we're
the engineers. Okay. Well, anyway,
I think the best thing,
Mr. Poller, is to submit it to JIF. But please be aware, everybody check your emails for the additional emails came from Boswell Engineering and what's in your packet. Because those are all things that JIF, keep in mind, is also going to take into account. And those are not items like reports from an engineer that you necessarily ignore. I'm not saying Mrs. Lipnick isn't owed the money. I am not saying that at all. But we still have to make sure that we follow what's out there. And
But why didn't we follow that for Amherst Drive?
Reach out to the engineer. I don't know on Amherst Drive. I'd have to look at the paperwork, and that's what I've said before.
That's all I'm asking. Why do we have one set of rules for Amherst Drive?
I didn't say that.
I don't know anything about Amherst Drive. When are we going to find out about that? If this
Didn't
is
we ask for the
a
engineering
problem.
report on that?
I don't
Didn't we
know.
also ask for the engineering report on that?
I didn't
And
see
we
anything.
received something from Mr. Tovo from the company that repaired it. And that's all we received.
Okay, so he didn't say he was going to check for an engineer's report. So, we are still asking for the engineer's report. Again, not a single person on this council is saying that this shouldn't be paid or Mrs. Lipnick isn't owed her money. But I do agree with Mr. Pollard. Does anybody else agree with Mr. Pollard?
I 100%, I don't, 100% before we even try to be judge, jury, and everything else, it needs to go through our insurance.
Just deal with it, and then we'll pick up the pieces.
Correct. Agreed.
Thank you, everyone.
It also says in the fourth paragraph, it then became clear that the township's mains were not causing the problem and that the
Yes.
problem may lie with lateral piping.
Yes, that's true.
Seeking to help the resident, and it identifies $426.50 as the total cost that our engineer thought that the township was liable for. What are we just blowing that off?
Why do we repair the lateral on Amherst Drive, Mr. Cummings?
Okay, Councilman
I
DeSena.
don't know anything about Amherst Drive, sir.
Address the
I'm
issue
sorry.
on Finnerty Place. The thing is that deflecting it and not dealing with what's in the
Not
engineer's report.
deflecting, Casey.
Yeah, actually,
You
based
can't
on.
have one set of rules on Amherst and one set of rules on Finnerty Place. That's the
I
end of it.
didn't say that. I did not, please do not put words in my mouth. I did not say that. I said that we have the engineering report in front of us, okay? And that if we are going to go off of the engineering report, which is what we have said previously, not just here, but also in budget meetings and other items, then why are we discrediting the engineering report?
Like I said, why don't we have an engineer's report on Amherst? Why don't we have an engineer's report on the other $5,000 we spent on somebody's sanitary lateral? So why do we pick and choose whose bills we're paying?
I didn't say that. I said to you, right now, we're dealing with 184 Finnerty Place.
You're not
That's
listening to
exactly
what I'm
what
saying.
I
We were
told
never
you.
asked to approve. We were never asked to approve as a council the repair on Amherst Drive. It was done by the DMF with approval from the administration. All of a sudden, this repair and other repairs, which are automatically put through the system, they weren't sent to Jeff for repayment. This one became an issue of where it is because of where it is. The other two, we paid, and we paid it twice. It was such a good repair that we paid it once 2 months ago, and then we were going to pay it again tonight. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Councilman
Mike,
DeSena,
that's not
Councilman
fair.
DeSena.
That's not fair, Mike. It wouldn't have gotten paid twice. It's probably just an error in the paperwork. I appreciate
Mr.
you pointing
Calamari,
it out.
it's in the
Don't go there.
Hey, one at a time. Councilman DeSena, the issue at hand, and apparently you don't want to address it, so you don't have to comment, is that we have an engineer's report from 184 Finnerty Place. There are several points in this that say that there's a certain part that is the town's responsibility. I'm not talking about Amherst Drive. You can only go on what we have in front of us. That's the truth. That is the God's honest truth. No, I am listening to what you're saying, but you're not
Disagree with it. Why? Because on Amherst, we didn't get to approve it. It was automatically paid by the town. We sent our contractor out there to fix it. So why didn't we send our contractor out to the place?
So why aren't you pleasantly happy that we have this information in front of us and we as a council can discuss it and find a resolution? Why are you continuously hammering on something that has already happened instead of moving forward with the rest of this town in a positive direction, instead of trying to say negative items? We have an engineer's report. We have an engineer's report in front of us. Doesn't matter if it's the truth. It still leads such a negative connotation for the entire time we're talking about this.
If the truth is a negative connotation and a conspiracy to you, then let it be.
What
Let
I'm
it be,
saying,
Steve.
no, please
listen,
don't put, no, Desiree, give me a minute, please. We need to discuss 184 Finnerty Place. I spoke to Mrs. Lipnick through email. She deserves the respect of this council to address this matter. If it's going to go to Jeff, then fine, if that's his decision. But if we could please stay on 184 Finnerty Place, to allow Mrs. Lipnick to get a resolution. That's really the ultimate goal here. The goal is not to compare Mrs. Lipnick to another address. The goal is to address Mrs. Lipnick's concern and move forward. Councilwoman Morgan, do you have a comment?
Yes, I just want us to take it down a notch. You guys both want the same thing. We want a resolution, right? So we want to do it proactively, and there's no reason to be fighting. That's all. Let's keep it moving.
So what do we want to do with this? Does it go to JIF? What's the consensus?
It should go to JIF because we have insurance and we pay for it for reasons like this. It should go to JIF.
Anybody else?
I'm nodding my head.
Yes. Anybody else?
Send it to JIF, let them decide, and we can decide what we're going to do after that.
I'm in agreement with everybody about sending it to JIF. Okay, Mr.
Like you would with the doctor.
Mayor Calamari, how do we get this to JIF? Do we have to give it to the administrator or?
The administrator will send it. The administrator will send it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then we have that item on there.
I'll talk about that tomorrow. And also, if you as a council want engineer reports going forward on any claim that a resident puts through, I'm happy to supply them.
Could you provide the engineering report for the address on Amherst for Councilman DeSena, please?
I don't want it.
I would
Well,
like to see it also,
I think
please.
the entire council should, doesn't matter. I'd like the council to see it, please.
If we're going to discuss it and it's going to be on this forum, I think we should have a copy of it.
Yeah, you can't bring it up and then not allow us to get the information. Yeah, to get the information.
Apples? How is it apples to apples? The one on Amherst was already paid.
It's not apples to apples.
If they had an engineer report that said that it was the issue, it was the town's fault, then at least you're seeing that the engineer is consistently giving guidance.
But
Very
Desiree,
good. Thank you,
what
Councilwoman
we're
Morgan.
saying. The problem occurred and it was repaired and paid by the town. That's it. No engineer's report. Somebody made a decision in the administration to fix Amherst, and it was paid.
But they're saying they're going to send us.
But the thing is, you just want to state that that's what happened, but you don't want to look at the backup and the reasons why. That's not having a full picture of what's going on.
But wait, was there a report
No.
What is sending us?
Not yet.
Mayor Calamari, was there a report for Amherst or a report from somebody that inspected?
I honestly don't know, but I will check tomorrow. If I
Great.
do remember correctly, and I'm not saying that Mrs. Lipnick was not an emergency, but the one on Amherst, if I remember correctly, was an emergency. And so, yes, we had to decide to move quickly on that one. And that might be part of the difference here. I'm not saying Mrs. Lipnick was not, but I remember the one on Amherst was deemed an emergency.
And that's
Okay.
what I mean by apples to apples. I don't know anything about it. So I just want to familiarize myself with it.
I don't either, and I'd really like to know now that it's been brought up.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
would also. And
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Lipnick is listening. We are working to get you a resolution. As soon as we have more information, it will be provided to you.
I think
And I will be,
it's obvious we're putting a lot of energy into this.
yes. Okay. I will be emailing her also and letting her know the results of our discussion, just in case she doesn't have it. Okay. Anybody have any more questions on 184 Finnerty Place or any other comments?
No.
Okay, open closed session. I provided there were several conversations from the public and from some questionable, some people on the council questioned what we were doing, but I did do some research and made some phone calls and found out that as long as we are having a public meeting and then having a closed sessions for the items that are listed in the DCA local operational guidance for COVID-19, I just wanted everybody to have it and see what is allowable for a closed session to keep the township moving forward. Does anybody want to discuss this or?
No, I assume that this shows that we're attempting to be as much in compliance as we can and as
Right.
transparent as we can.
So under the Open Public Meetings Act during COVID-19, there's an exclusion there's reasons why you were allowed to have a closed session. So it's the meetings open to public exceptions, and that falls under the guidance for COVID-19 remote public meetings. So the meeting we had falls under number 5, under that specific clause, matter involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property with public funds, the settling of banking rates, or investment of public funds, if it could adversely affect the public interest if discussion of the matters were closed. Okay, so just so everyone's aware, yes, I wanted to make sure everybody had that and there weren't any, does anybody want to discuss it?
I think it says what it says. I don't see anything to discuss.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the information.
You're very welcome. Okay, Desiree, you're up next. Recreation fall signups.
Okay, so I found out that the cheerleading and football registrations are open on Community Pass, but there are no fee, because who knows if we're really going to have a season or not. So, more to come on that. But for right now, it's basically to gauge interest, to see if we do have a season, if for some, by the grace of God, a miracle should occur and are able to have a season for cheer and football. It's just an open registration. There was an issue earlier today, I don't know if it was resolved, that the people who had a credit, that would have used a credit, they weren't able to register. So that was being worked on. But that's all the information I have for now. And then as far as the background checks, obviously we discussed that already. That's ready to go. There's enough. We're going to make sure that happens before the season opens. So that's ready to go.
Desiree, what's the person's title who told you that there was a problem, just so I can follow up tomorrow?
Say one more time.
What was the person's title of who told you there was a problem with people who had credits, just so I can follow up tomorrow?
The director of rec.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to let you know that I've had several moms in town call me and say, I want to sign up for cheerleading. When do we sign up for cheerleading?
Me too. So, we could stand in a circle and cheer, because I don't know if there's going to...
I was going back out for lacrosse myself. I played that years ago.
I hope we can get back to normal, but it's not looking like that's going to happen, but at least it's open right now for people who are interested.
Oh,
And if you play lacrosse, Mr. Cummings, we'll cheer you on.
It's all about the vaccine.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments regarding fall recreation fall signups?
I only wish us the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilman DeSena, grease trap inspection records for all food businesses in town.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to know if somebody's keeping a track at the health department or our DPW DMF of where all the grease traps are located and how often they're serviced as per law, if they're being done monthly as large food establishments are required.
I don't know offhand. What I can tell you is we did reach out to what I assume is one of the bigger ones, Nicholas Markets, and they sent to Mr. Tovo today the copies of their work from whoever their contractor is, who comes and cleans them out and checks them for the past 12 months. So we did.
How about Seasons and Bakari and the Chinese food restaurant and all the other restaurants?
Those I will check on further, or I'll have the administrator check on further. But Nicholas Market can send us theirs.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask Mr. Tovo for a copy of that for our records, and that it can be sent to Northwest Bergen Regional Health, that if they get called out on any backups, they have the record?
Mr. Mayor, I think you're on mute.
I think so too, because there you go. Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I must have hit it by mistake. If the last thing yes, Sue, you can certainly ask Bob for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman DeSena, I'm sorry, does anyone else have a comment regarding the grease trap reports? As Councilman Cassidy?
I'm fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Councilman Cummings?
I think that probably establishing a protocol would be a good idea.
Okay. Councilwoman Morgan?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, I think a report is also very much due. Okay, Councilman, sorry, go ahead.
But we're gonna have a lot of reports that we really should have, I think.
Yes. Okay, Councilman DeSena, Westwood Board of Education revised school budget due to pandemic update.
Mr. Mayor, has the administrator or yourself reached out to the Westwood Regional School District to see what the impact of the COVID-19 has had to the school district and what they anticipate it to be in coming September? A lot of school districts are applying for a lot of financial extras because of all the sanitizing that needs to be done and all the cleaning that needs to be done. The school district was very quick to, prorate a lot of things, including, people's busing passes and stuff like that, but we don't see what they're doing internally. So I don't know if the administration had reached out to them to see what they have planned, and maybe we can get a report from the administration of what they have planned to address the pandemic and all the costs associated with it and what it's going to do to our tax, base next year and this year. What the shortfall will be for 2020.
I'll be happy to do that. However, they do operate independent of us. If anyone has questions, they should either email them directly or attend one of their virtual meetings. I'll be happy to reach out, but there's a reason that they have their board and we have ours, and we try and keep them separate because we each do different things. So obviously, and when I saw your agenda item on here, I reached out to the BA over there this morning, and the only thing he told me was they're losing some state funding, as all the schools are also, amount to be determined. But now that I know more specific what your agenda item is, I will follow up.
Yeah, because the pandemic sanitizing is a huge effort at all the school districts are complaining about. I know the governor has asked for federal, assistance, but we haven't received it yet. So between the shortfall and the extra sanitizing they need to do, I'm just curious what the budget impact's going to be to the residents. That's all.
Okay.
I do know that FEMA is working on something. I heard through another tax legislation I was reading. FEMA is trying to come with a way to help with PPE for schools.
Okay.
Everybody needs so much help, but I don't know where all this help is going to come from.
They're going to print more money, probably.
We're printing money like crazy.
Yes, we are.
I want to make sure no one misunderstands my comment. On the lightning detection system, that is a shared service, so we should have a voice in that. When I say we're separate on a lot of things, but that's a shared service, so I don't want anyone to confuse my comment.
No. Okay, the next item
Good night,
is,
Emma.
Sorry, yes.
The corn's still boiling.
Oh, I put the corn in the pot. Okay. Sorry. No. Okay, last item, sorry, I'm gonna do last item and do something else. Employee furlough due to pandemic. Councilman DeSena, I'm sorry, I know this is really bad, but I'm just gonna step away for a minute, okay? I left the pot boiling.
No problem. Mr. Mayor, has the administration looked at the financial returns? I know a bunch of departments were running at approximately 50% of their yearly intake. Have we done anything about furloughs or anything due to the pandemic, or have we applied for any assistance due to the pandemic to help those departments? And what is our plan for those departments to help offset the limited income coming in?
Well, we did make allowances for that in the budget on the income section, where we knew income would be down. So that was something we took into account during the budget process. As far as lost revenue or anything, it is what it is, and we tried to estimate as best we could for the budget how much would be lost. People are working, so as far as furloughs, the workload has not lightened up that much. If anything, the people are using what might have been lighter time to catch up on other things, because when the floodgates open, they're really going to open. So we told everyone, listen, use this time productively, make sure all your back projects are complete, because when we start to let people in the building and when people's finances get better, the floodgates will open with the permits and people coming in from the outside. So as far as employee furloughs, we have not furloughed anyone, but we have been monitoring that they are keeping busy. No one is just sitting around, collecting money for nothing.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other comments regarding that line item?
Stacy, I think you skipped one, though. I think you skipped number 7.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Yes, that was not intentional. Yes.
Or maybe 7 and 8 were tied together. I'm not sure.
No, they weren't.
You mentioned that.
No, I did. No, that was the school board budget. There were 2 budget items.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilman. That was not. That was definitely not intentional.
Mr. Mayor, do we see any foreseen negatives coming in because of all the PPE and the sanitizing that we're doing once a day and on the weekend with the overtime that's now required to go sanitize the the playgrounds and stuff like that? Have we done a due diligence to see how much this is going to cost us and what our shortfalls are going to be?
We have the only place that it's really costing us employee money is, yes, to have someone from DPW come in on a Sunday. The person who comes in on Saturday to do the yard is also doing this. So, I mean, it does cost us an extra couple hours. So other than weekend overtime for DMF, that's all the employee stuff that we are dealing with. What Mr. Tovo and I want to recommend once we get the money in from the sale of the property on Fern Street was to use that money toward COVID expenses also, just to help the cost, because we had not put that in the budget.
Are we receiving federal grants from FEMA for any of these COVID related?
We have certainly applied. Yeah,
okay.
It'll take them a while to get us money, obviously, but we've applied where applicable.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I had just naturally assumed we did. I didn't even think to ask.
Yeah.
No, and there is a plan, hopefully, for the police departments to get reimbursed for also their expenses too.
Yeah, Department of OEM, they'll reimburse those expenses. So we've been very diligent in keeping track as to what we built to OEM line items.
Right.
Okay, so Councilman DeSena, did that cover number 7 for you? I'm very sorry, I did not.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, we're going into closed session. Resolution number 20-254, purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property with public funds pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiations, temporary relocation of DPW vehicles and equipment. Motion to enter into closed session. May I have a motion?
Before we close,
did I miss another one?
No. If I am to, if I asked to change a date of the council meeting, would that have to be done in an open session?
Yes. When's the next meeting?
August 10th. And is it possible to do it the week before or the week after? Just because I'm going to be not available.
And Desiree, I'm glad you asked that because my wife just brought to my attention that we have something planned that day and night. I was going to cancel out of it, but we'd rather not. But now if one other person has an issue.
Well, you know what? Let me get back to you because I know zoning board has been asking for some dates in court, but I believe they're only in July right now. So let me can I email you out? And
yeah, I mean, the 17th would probably work. Because the next meeting then isn't until the 7th of September.
Yeah, well, we were trying to span them out so it wasn't too many. So that was kind of like the in-between weeks. So let me if I can email you tomorrow and see what's on the calendar upstairs. If that's all right.
Perfect.
Just to take consensus, would the 17th of August be okay, or does anybody else have a conflict with that day?
17th would work for me.
Okay. Everybody else just yes, no?
Everybody else?
Yes.
I have no idea. I haven't looked at my calendar.
Okay, Steve, if you could look at your calendar.
Mike, the 17th, is that okay?
I may have an issue. That's Joey's first day. That's Joey's move-in day for school. So I have an issue on the 17th.
Okay, so
well, then we go back to the 3rd.
Everyone doesn't have to be there.
You might too.
Yes.
Very important, we have the second vote on the capital budget, so I can get the energy stuff.
Oh,
yes, what about the 3rd?
The 3rd works for me.
Sure. That's even better. Can
Mike,
we approve the capital budget?
3rd is fine for me.
Okay.
in that amount of time?
Councilman Casio, can you check your schedule and let us know if the 3rd of August works?
What day is that?
It's Monday.
Yeah, I'm right now. I think it works. So put it down.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Poller, Sue.
No, I think it'll be good. I just have to make sure that I change the budget hearing, because all the resolutions. Ken, is there an issue? All the resolutions that we did tonight for the introductions of the ordinances, I was advertising as August 10th.
Do you have enough time? Do you have enough time? Yeah.
Even though the resolution says one thing, we can change that though, right, on the advertisement?
Yeah, but as long as the publication time is okay, you can change.
Okay, all right, I will double check and I can call you if there's a problem.
Right.
Okay.
And are we voting on it to change it right now, by the way? Are we changing it effectively right now?
I mean, I just would rather double check the calendar. I don't think there is anything in August. I think they've been mainly in July.
Okay.
But I could send an email out quick in the morning, just confirming that the 3rd is okay and then move forward with it, if that's all right with everyone.
Yep.
Sure.
If the 3rd isn't okay and the 17th isn't okay, then I'm good the 24th. It's just that I can't be available the 10th or 11th.
Okay, so I think we're going to tentatively push this. Mike, you said you're good for the 3rd, right? Just making sure.
Definitely better than the 17th, right?
Yes, okay. So, so tentatively, I'm making the announcement now that the next meeting will be August 3rd. If there's another change, please check the board, please check the website, and also look out in the paper.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, resolution number 2, is that good?
Yes, you did a motion already for Councilman Cassidy.
Okay.
Need a second.
Okay, may I have a second? May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, Ricky's just gonna come down. Do we need a 5-minute break or we're just gonna go?
Can we just go, please?
Oh.